and gentlemen, let's go. Let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
So, with the 29th pick in the 2022 Pay the Noise NFL Mock Draft, James Anderson, the Kansas City Chiefs, select who? James Anderson join us right now on Sports Radio 810 in Kansas City. James, let's talk running backs.
Yeah, excellent stuff. James, we're up against it. We appreciate the time, my man. Fantastic insight and information. We're looking forward to talking to you down the road. Enjoy the draft.
Absolutely, man. You guys too, anytime.
All right, there he goes. James Anderson, host of the Zone Midday Sports Radio 810 in KC.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I've got a Wednesday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Beards, we head up until 2 o'clock the next 4 hours. We've got you. Packed show today, a lot of stuff to get into. We will hang out with Cynthia Frelund at 11 o'clock, NFL Network analytics expert. We'll talk with her about the Chiefs, the Bills, some other things in the NFL as well. We'll get into that conversation with Cynthia. Who knows where it will go? Random stuff that we might delve into. Chiefs today, we'll hear from Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and then we'll see which players will be at the podium as well for the Chiefs as they get ready for the Chargers coming up on Sunday night. So we'll hear from the Chiefs at about 11:45 or so, and then we will hang out with Mick Shaffer in the 1 o'clock hour, KSHB 41 sports director, and we'll get some shot clock reviews and sad fans. Sad fans today. Are there sad Jags fans out there? Probably some. Are they passionately sad Jags fans? I guess we'll find out. 1 o'clock, tune in. Looking forward to hearing what the Jags fans have to say, or had to say, during that game that started off really good for them and then went bad quickly. Sad fans coming up in the 1 o'clock hour and shot clock reviews. 913-912-4810 is the text line to join us today. 913-912-4810 text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. Text says, real quick, says, have you been on that show since he called you James Anderson? I have. I have been on the show since he called me James Anderson.
What did he call you that time?
And unfortunately, yeah, it was Jesse. Jesse Anderson, Jeremiah. It was this time. It was actually Jason. I was like, no, that's not my name. I don't have a heart on. It's Jason, not Jason. We talked Chiefs with him. That's what we did. Thank you, texter. 913-912-4810 is the text line. So we'll get into some NFL today. Some college basketball. KU taking care of business last night against Duke. I told you to take KU. Money line. You can take the points if you wanted to, but take KU money line. And I appreciate what they did last night for the wallet. I know that nobody cares, but I appreciate that before the game, little investment ended up working out at the end of the game, and I appreciate the Dukies taking a 6-point lead there midway through the second half. And going to DraftKings and seeing KU at plus 300. And I appreciated that too. So, my wallet, thanks you, Jayhawks. And Grady Dick. And Jalen Wilson. And some of the Duke possessions late. Defense by KU, all of that stuff. So, we will certainly talk some college basketball today. And, of course, Major League Baseball with the open letter that John Sherman wrote to Royals fans, the Royals community. That's where we will start here in just a second. But did want to remind everybody that we still have the 24th annual Sports Radio 810 food drive going on right now. Now, we've told you about all the different places around Kansas City, the Aldi locations, I should say, that you can go and donate the non-perishable items, the 810 bins that are there. Drop off the non-perishable items if you're around the area. If you're shopping at Aldi to get some groceries, buy a few extra things, drop it in the bin on the way out. That is definitely appreciated. But also There are ways you can just simply donate monetarily. You can go to 810whb.com/food drive. You donate $20, and you are entered to win this beautiful picture of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid autographed. Framing is really nice. The plaque thingy that they have, that's what they call it, right? The plaque thingy that has the description of what that picture is, which you would certainly need a description of, seeing that Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are on the picture. It's signed, but it is a beautifully presented portrait and autograph. $20 gets you entered in to win that picture, which we will give away announce that on Monday. Again, that's 810whb.com/food drive. Every $20 donation gets you an entry in to win that. And also the silent auction going on right now. I'll tell you this, if you haven't been there, go to 810whb.com/food drive. Follow the links to the silent auction, and you can see all of the items that are there. Some pretty awesome items that right now, not too bad with some of the bargains that are there right now. Just give you a little heads up. Sorry if you're one of the people out there that has a bid in on some of these that thinks maybe that might be the final bid. No, that ain't happening, because these things are too cool, too big of collectible pieces, and some of them being centerpieces of a man cave. That is at 810whb.com/food drive. You can bid on the silent auction, and you can come away with some really, really awesome items. And you're also giving back. So you donate the $20, even if it's a selfish reason to, be entered in to win the picture, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes autograph. But you're also giving $20 to those that are less fortunate, those that are in need. The $20, if you're in a position, you may not miss it. Maybe. But if you are in a position to where, you can give a little bit, the $20 can go a long way. The non-perishable items certainly can help. The $20 can go a long way with the donations going directly to those in need through the Bishop Sullivan Center and Mission South Side. So go to 810whb.com/food drive. See how you can help out in many different ways. You can do both. Drop off some non-perishables at Aldi, donate $20, $10, $50, whatever it might be that you have that you feel like you can give to help out this holiday season. 810whb.com/food drive. Okay, 913-912-4810 is the text line to join us to be a part of the show. 913-912-4810. We start with the Royals. I was planning on starting with Kansas, with KU and the win over Duke last night, 69-64. And then John Sherman just had to go and upstage the Jayhawks in their big win in the Champions Classic. And a quick aside, Michigan State, an Akins 3 in the air. If it goes, they knock off number 2 Gonzaga and number 4 Kentucky in a matter of 4 days. It did not go, so they're 1-1, but that's how close Michigan State was from being an unranked team and beating 2 top 5 teams in a span of 4 days. Michigan State won't be unranked for long. But Kansas also taking care of business last night against Duke. But the open letter that John Sherman sent out to Royals fans and the Kansas City community, which is their intention, stating their intention, letting it be known publicly they are moving downtown. This is essentially, I'm writing to tell you this officially, unofficially, officially, in what we've already been telling you over the last couple of years. And different Easter eggs and nuggets and morsels along the way that you can pick up on that we've talked about. They're moving downtown. We knew they were moving downtown. Their intent was to move downtown. Different spaces that might be available. As John Sherman writes, looking at locations under close consideration both in downtown Kansas City and close to it. They'll find out whatever makes the most sense for the community, for the ballpark, for the space, for ease of access, which is going to be the main pushback. People can talk about I wonder the most passionate pushback that the Royals organization will get. Is it the nostalgia and the memories of Kaufman? Is it the parking and getting in and out of downtown? And because we know this, 40,000 people show up to the Royals every single night. If there's one thing we know when the immediate reaction I saw last night was, you're going to put 40,000 people downtown every day that time? We know that the Royals put 40,000 a night. There are never nights where they have 7. I've never seen a night where they have 12 or 13 or 14 or 15. Never seen it. 40,000, undefeated, never lost.
Jason, it sounds like you're doing sarcasm there.
No, I'm just, I always paint in with my beautiful...
Are you sure that wasn't sarcasm?
Bob Ross brush of these happy little fans and these bubbling little brooks. Fans that are named Brook. Just all throughout the stadium to get to 40,000. So I wonder what the most passionate reluctance will be. Getting in and out of downtown, parking situation, or the memories, the nostalgia, and not wanting to leave Kauffman Stadium. Those are things that I completely understand. Those are things that the Royals probably completely understand. You are not going to be surprised by listening to this show if you've listened to it before. You won't be surprised to hear my opinion on this, and that I am 100% in favor of a downtown ballpark. I was in favor of it in 2006. It did not happen. The 3/8 cent tax that was passed for renovations got the Royals and Kauffman Stadium and Arrowhead to the point they are now. But we discussed it at the time on the air that this is ultimately a Band-Aid, that it's going to come to a point when they are going to leave Kauffman. Do you do it in 06 or do you do it in 31 when it's going to be massively more expensive? I know that it's more expensive now, but I'm actually glad it didn't go through in 2006. And I'll get to that here in just a second as to why I'm glad that we are in the position we are right now as a community and talking about a downtown ballpark as opposed to discussing maybe renovations coming up for downtown ballpark or just upkeep or whatever that might be. We'll get into that. So I understand the issues that are there. And I get it. And I think there's part of a trepidation for me as well. Like I love going out to the K. I've got the memories of going out to the K. Memories of me and my buddies that would stand in line for GA in right field. Like that was a big deal. That was just something we did. Just got there early, waited in line. The gates open, you run down, you try to get the front row, first couple rows, whatever it might be, close as you can. The sun beaming down, you better have some sunscreen or you're going to walk out there completely red and burned because, damn it, I was thinking about baseball and not the sun. And I know the sun's going to be on my face the whole time. Like I've been there. The World Series that took place there, the memories that are developed from that. So, yeah, I'll miss those things as well. But every point along the way that we get into some of these discussions, there's always the manner of, I don't want this to happen because it messes up this part of what I feel like is a factor in what increases my experience of going to the game. I remember when the Royals were adding seats to the outfield. And the biggest complaint, and those that did not want that to happen, was you're going to take away from the beauty of the fountains. We will now lose the perspective of how far a home run is hit, how far up the hill, because we've had these home runs that have landed in the grass before, left of the fountains in left field. We've had these home runs that have landed there, and we know how far that was halfway up, that was a quarter, that was at the top. Now we're going to lose that. Plus, you're going to have all these fans out there and all this stuff. It's just going to take away from the beauty that is the fountains. And guess what? People still went. They still showed up. The fountains are still absolutely beautiful. And now people are saying, you can't leave Kauffman because of how beautiful it is. the crown, the fountains, all of it. You can't leave it. You can't put the net all the way down the baseline. It's going to mess up the experience. I want to take a chance of having a 98 mile an hour, baseball off a bat hit me in the temple. That's the fun part about it. You walk uphill both ways to school. Back in my day, we kept score and we paid attention. Now these people are looking at their phones, and that's their own fault if they're going to take one off the noggin. I can't see the game. And guess what? People went. They enjoyed it. They still go. 40,000, I'm told, every single night. So anytime there's progress or there's a question of change, there's going to be the reaction of, no, keep it the same, because that's what I'm most comfortable with. I don't know what driving to downtown is going to look like. I don't know what that ballpark's going to look like. I don't know what my experience in and out of the ballpark, before game, after game, where I'm going to sit, sight lines, what's the best way to get there, what's the back road, where am I going to park, where are we meeting friends, these things that we have done for years and years and years. Well, you know what, we're running late. Well, this is how I go into the ballpark. This is where we drive over here. We go this way, and we get in there a little bit quicker. Because I've got all those little knowing of the experience and the knowledge of the nooks and crannies and everything. I don't have those now. Well, that scares me. So I think naturally that's going to happen. And how much money it's going to cost? Yeah. That's going to be part of it too. And if the Royals are true in their plan of two guiding principles, I should say. One of those being that Jackson County citizens will not contribute any more tax dollars than they are doing today. So that would be essentially carrying over the 3/8 cent tax. That would be placed on that. Taxes from the development around the stadium, the ballpark district that'll be built, that can then go to help fund that, will probably be a part of it. So we need to know what the financing will look like. We need to know what the owners are going to be investing. They say they're going to be investing hundreds of millions of dollars. I believe that to be true. They will also be getting in return hundreds of millions of dollars in valuation for the ball club, for the organization, and the surrounding real estate. So it's certainly a win for them. They're in the position they are because they understand the investment aspect of money. So they have no problem. If it was a losing proposition, they wouldn't be investing hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars if they were just going to lose that. You're investing that because you know that you're going to get that back and then some on the back end, because you build the stadium, you get the district around it, and the valuation of the ball club goes way up, and you've already increased your investment. And I understand where people come from, and they say, well, why should we help pay for that? Because it's kind of like paying Patrick Mahomes the money that he's getting paid. As a quarterback, it's the price of doing business. And that's reality. And you can live in reality, or you can try to fight what you feel like is the good fight, one city at a time, while other cities say, we'll live in reality and we'll accept that, and we'll take that major league team. We'll be one of 25 cities if Kansas City does not want to be. St. Louis fought it. We're not going to do this. You pay for the stadium, Kroenke. Cool, we're gone. What? Well, no, let's get something together. Let's figure this out. No, we're gone. But we were fighting the good fight, right? And you're not fighting traffic to get to a Rams game downtown anymore. You're going to have to fight the airlines to get to L.A. to watch them. But you can rest on your laurels of the fact that you really fought. You're not going to do that. You're not going to let Kroenke get some money out of that. No, you're not going to help him increase his wealth off your 3/8 cent tax. Not going to happen. Okay, then you're not going to be a pro city. You want to be a pro city or not? I do. And if they are true and honest, these are things we will have to find out. If they are true and honest in that the taxes that are being paid right now for the renovations would just simply extend, and that would be the community, the private-public aspect of paying and financing the ballpark, the construction, then okay. But that's still a wait and see. It is not a slam dunk that no matter what they do, it's just you pay for it, whatever. No, let's see what it looks like. And let's be reasonable here for those that are in the community, and I'm talking about the ownership, John Sherman, the other owners that are Kansas Cityans, that are in the community, that certainly have their investment, but they also have the community to think about as well. So what does that look like? The renderings are out there, but, renderings are this. It's just, I think let's put a picture together and then put it out there. Like, that's not going to be what the ballpark looks like. I want to talk about the impact on the team because that's the other part. Build a winning team, and then I may think about that. The finances in baseball, and I used to always say that, when people would talk about what it takes to win in Major League Baseball, whether you pay for success or you find ways through Moneyball to see the inefficiencies in the market. I used to say all the time that Royals fans are not ignorant to the finances of baseball. They are well schooled in it. They understand it because they've been dealing with it. It's one thing to be in a big city and go, well, the cost of these free agents and the overall like small market size, whatever. Who cares? We're buying this guy. Too bad. That's your own fault. Deal with it. There's revenue sharing with the TV deals and things like that. There's luxury tax that they've gone to try to level the playing field a little bit. But I think Royals fans are well versed in being a small market, in understanding the finances of baseball and trying to have a winning team. Hell, they're the only small market team to win a World Series, right? What's the small market team since, we've had this escalation and the gap between the haves and the have-nots in baseball? Yeah, there have been some small market teams that have got there, but like a small payroll, small market, miss me with the Houston's a small market. Yeah, the number 3 city in America, small market. Okay, sure. That's right. And Mahomes' Ferrari is a cheap car. Well, but it's smaller than others. Your big truck that you have, that big truck, man, that's going to be more expensive because that car is smaller. No, it's more expensive. So miss me with the Houston is, a small market. The Royals have won it as a small market team. So we know the finances. We understand payroll and things like that. But there's another level of where baseball is going and how to compete. And the Royals, I promise you, if you want to say build a winning team and then I'll go and agree to moving downtown. The finances in baseball are changing. The way you are able to run your ball club is changing. And personally, I don't believe the Royals can stay on track and be a team that competes the way that their revenue is currently constructed. If they do not develop added streams of revenue like other teams are doing, they're going to continue to get left behind. We'll talk about that coming up next. More Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Brian, you're the man as always, sir. Love hearing your voice and looking forward to catching up on Saturday.
You love hearing my voice because it sounds so much like your voice.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Nailed it, Brian. Correct. 913-912-4810. Reactions coming in. Tex says it's nice to have a Royals owner who has the cojones to do what is right for the city and also what's right for the long-term health of Royals. Tex says, I need the back in my day and the Denny voice. Does Denny do the back in my day? Back in my day, we'd walk uphill both ways to school and to get to the ballpark to keep score. We wouldn't be looking at our devices, that's for sure. 913-912-4810. Tex says, I've lived in my house for 25 years, raised my family here. So many great memories in this house. But you know what? Next year when I retire, I'm selling it, moving back to Kansas City. Change is good. Another text comes in and says, let's see, 913-912-4810. Says, bull bleep, he ain't moving the Royals. How much money did the KC Current ask for? Well, I would say that. They didn't ask for any, and that was awesome. $118 million to build the stadium, privately funded. It's amazing, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. If the Royals, if it would only cost if it cost $118 million for the Royals to be the leaders in stadiums, to then be the stadium, the organization that the other franchises are looking to then emulate, yeah, I would demand that the city give nary a cent to the owners if it costs $118 million to do that. Because that's what the Current are doing. And it's good on them for doing that and having the foresight, because they are now going to become the organization that has the first women's specific soccer stadium. They will attract free agents because of the facilities, because of what they've put into it. The Current are going to be a winning organization because of what the Longs have done, and that's great. That's amazing. It's a different level of investment. If that's what it took, then no, there should not have been a dime for the Royals. But, Google is moving their headquarters to Kansas City. They're going to get a tax break. Oh, yeah? What tax break did that small business over there get when they built their business? Well, I mean, it's different. It's a different level and different price of doing business. The Royals are going to spend more than $118 million of their own money. So, yeah, I think you can do both. I think you can credit the Current for what they're doing and also understand it's apples and oranges. 913-912-4810. Text says, as I pull it up, says, I'll miss tailgating, not paying $8 for a hot dog. Yeah. I don't know that necessarily eliminates every single aspect of tailgating. It may. Not sure where they're going to put it. Not sure what the space around the ballpark's going to look like. But there will be other ways of tailgating. There'll be other ways of enjoying pre-gaming for the Royals. And I know the difference of then, well, yeah, but if I'm in a bar, I'm spending money as opposed to bringing the drinks and food with me. Understandable. Totally get it. Absolutely. That would be a con in the pro-con aspect. 913-912-4810. Text says, don't care what it looks like. It'll be a bleeping mess. It's too expensive. There's no room for it. It's wasteful and stupid. And I'm willing to play chicken with the owners, threaten me to move if we don't do it. And I'm sure you're one of these guys that declares eminent domain, screw the businesses, will bulldoze it to do it. Because that's the same. I love these straw man arguments that are out there. Text says, go help repave the local Wendy's parking lot to pump up their franchise price. If the local Wendy's brought in revenue by being in Kansas City, yeah. I mean, these strawman arguments, like, you really think it's the same thing? Like, I don't think you understand finance. I don't think you understand what actually, it's like getting a scholarship to a school. The people that complain about the players that would get money, like basketball and football, you're probably the same guy that complains that college athletes get paid. Because I had to pay for student loans. You know why? Because you didn't bring value to to that school. They didn't need you. You needed them. If you brought value, they would give you a scholarship. How about this? Instead of bitching about your student loans, go be valuable. Be better with your grades. Be a better athlete. But they give out academic scholarships to the students they feel like bring value to their school. And those players bring value to the school. That's why they get a scholarship. And it's why others will give them money in NIL, because they also see the value in those players and the talent that they bring. It's not the same as saying a local restaurant versus the Royals in the economic growth. It's not the same. And here's the baseball aspect of it. Because if you want to, it's one thing to have a team in town. It's another thing to have a team that actually wins. So if you're really going to say 40,000 people a night at Kauffman, if you're going to say that, well, then they'd better have a winning ball club. Because 40,000 ain't showing up to watch a team pacing for 100 losses. So there aren't 40,000 people. But if you're saying there's going to be 40,000 people, well, then they need to have a winning organization. And in today's baseball, you're not going to have a winning organization unless you can develop added revenue outside of your local TV market, which the Royals are getting vastly fewer dollars than the other organizations that are out there. Well, yeah, develop and trade, and then watch them walk. Well, the Braves are able to do it. You're right. The Braves are able to do it with their new park and the Battery, the entertainment district that's a part of the Braves. Where last year they brought in, on the entertainment district, quote, the Battery, $42 million in revenue for the ball club. In 1 year, they added revenue of $42 million by teaming up with the Omni, that's part of the real estate with the organization, by having apartments and businesses and restaurants and bars and hotels and things like that. They brought in $42 million to the ball club. The Braves' payroll in 2019 was $119 million. The Braves' payroll this last year was $178. Yeah, but they won the World Series. Cool. The Royals' payroll when they won the World Series was $112. 2 years later, it was $143. They went up $31 million. That's awesome. In 2 years, the Royals increased their payroll by $30 million in 2 years. The Braves increased their payroll by $40 from 1 year to the next, and they already have $192 on the books for next year. 2019, $119 million. 2023, they already are going to be paying $192. Austin Riley, 10 years, $212 million. Matt Olson, 8 years, $168 million. Michael Harris, 8 years, $72 million. Strider, 6 for $75. Acuna, 8 for $100. Marcell Ozuna, 4 for $65. They have extra revenue that's coming in to the team. That, to me, is the part of this that becomes a non-starter in moving downtown. If there is not a guarantee, and this is where there has to be trust, this is where there has to be, do you feel like the people in charge have the best interest of the citizens of the community? They certainly have their own self-interest. but of the ballpark, of the organization, and winning, do they have that at heart? Because it would be an absolute 100% non-starter for me if there was not a pledge by the ownership that the added revenue from the ballpark district that they are going to build around the ballpark downtown did not then get directly transferred into payroll, or at least help with payroll. Because that becomes a non-starter. I will grant you, Royals ownership, that competing in today's baseball with the current finances is untenable. There's going to be a widening gap between the Royals and others when it comes to finance, when it comes to revenue, payroll. And if you don't want to acknowledge it, that's fine. Bury your head in the ground and keep bitching about trades that aren't made and Ryan O'Hearn. Instead of acknowledging that the Guardians are doing this, they're not building a new ballpark because they already have one downtown, but they are building a district around the ballpark in which the Guardians are going to have added revenue. Hell, the Buffalo Bills are doing it in Buffalo, so they can bring in added revenue. The Texas Rangers Globe Life created Texas Live. In 2019, the Rangers' payroll was $118 million. They had 2 players on their roster that were making more than $10 million. Next year, they have 5. Corey Seager's going to make 35.5. Simeon's going to make 26. People were going, why are now the Rangers are spending all this money? Yes, because they've got Texas Live and added revenue coming in, that it's not just the revenue sharing of the local TV markets. Baseball is changing in what teams are doing in being able to add revenue so they can then go out and put a winning club on the field, because tickets and gates and concessions still matter in generating revenue. So how can we do that while also creating jobs? Because if there's businesses that are down there, creating revenue, people then going downtown, going to different restaurants or bars, as opposed to just simply going to Kauffman and then leaving. That's added revenue. That's where baseball's going. And they're not going to be able to do it at Kauffman Stadium. And if you want to just keep renovating Kauffman Stadium, that's fine. Now go out and attract free agents when sometimes the toilets don't work in the clubhouse. But you can go and sign with this team for the same amount of money and look at the state-of-the-art clubhouse that's there. Put a winner on the field. Right. But there's resources that go along with it. It's just acknowledging what is taking place. It's an uncapped league. How it's constructed, where it's at, what it looks like, how much then that goes back into revenue or the payroll, all matters. It matters. It is not no matter what they say, they can just spoon feed me whatever they want. No, I want a downtown ballpark before John Sherman bought the team. That's my personal choice. That's my, opinion in what I would like to see to help continue to develop Kansas City and progress. So you have a World Cup and the airport and, Arrowhead's going to be renovated, maybe torn down and rebuilt. Well, they're a winning team. Yeah. It's cap league, and they made a hell of a deal with Patrick Mahomes and getting Andy Reid, and Clark Hunt nailed it. Maybe they stay at Arrowhead. Maybe they move over to Kauffman. But I also wonder how much there's a kumbaya relationship between the Chiefs and the Royals, too. How much there's oh, no, you guys do that. No, you do this. No, you take this. No, you have that. No, you have that. Or there's no, we're a pretty damn good organization ourselves. I think we'll go ahead and do this over here. Well, you know what? We need this date for that. Then maybe there is a time to split between the two and have them just simply be able to do the things at those dates whenever they feel like it helps out the organization. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Briscoe, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. Jason Anderson.
913-912-4810. Not going to read that text because you're a jerk.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, wrapping up this hour. We'll get back into this, even though some texts were like, enough stadium talk. Yeah, there will be plenty of it. We know. We'll talk with Cynthia Frelund, NFL Network analytics expert, coming up on the other side. Text says, Steve Cohen came in and built a winner instantly. John Sherman can spare us. Build a winner, then ask for handouts. I mean, if it's the same exact tax that they're paying right now, the 3/8 cent tax just carried over, and there's not extra money going to it. But if the complaint is that John Sherman didn't come in and increase the Royals' payroll to $260 million, I believe you probably would need to figure out how baseball works with small markets and revenue sharing and actual revenue.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Because there are more better, this is bad English, there are more better quarterbacks.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, let's talk some football. 913-912-4810 is the text line. Certainly we can get back into the open letter from John Sherman to Royals fans. One other point, too, that somebody had brought up and talked about, transit to get downtown, I think is, a big part of that. Says, I look forward to maybe catching the rail system or the trolley system from a little further out rather than fight the traffic in and out of the parking lots to go for the Royals. I think that has to be a big pillar of the entire plan, is added public transit to different areas of the city to where people can get to that location without driving and parking, because then it alleviates those that are the Parker families that are worried about the parking aspect. Cynthia Frelund, let's talk some NFL football. Chiefs and Chargers this weekend. They're in L.A. Cynthia joins us from NFL Network analytics expert. Cynthia, welcome into the show. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
I am doing just fine. Looking forward to the Chiefs and Chargers this weekend. I want to start off first, just maybe a takeaway from what you saw with the Chiefs and Jags. It felt like it was more business-like, and kudos to you. You had the Chiefs winning by 10. They did win by 10, so well done on that. You had 31-21, so nice job, Cynthia. Way off. It was 27-17. But what did you see? What do you take away maybe in general from that win?
I think part of what was interesting, so the Jags, in teams sometimes when they have like nothing to lose kind of thing, all it is upside. So they had a lot of different looks, and obviously Christian Kirk in different spots than he had typically been, and the ability of the defense of the Chiefs to adapt. Like I said, when someone goes a little bit renegade like that, it can be difficult. So that really showed you that the ability for the defense to adapt, react, and really account for all the different changes was very masterful, and that's a really good sign, going forward into the last half of the season and, into the playoffs.
Yeah, it just the start of the game, when you say, okay, the Jags and kind of throwing everything out there, or, what do they have to lose or playing for and things like that. And the Chiefs are kind of like, middle of a tough game against the Titans Sunday Night Football, noon home game against the Jags, and then Sunday Night Football against the Chargers the week after, whether the players look at the schedule or not. When the onside kick happened, Cynthia, and the Jags recovered, I had, very briefly, but I had some Colts feels. With the Colts game where Sky Moore fumbled the punt, and it was like, but they're going to figure it out. They're going to beat the Colts. They'll get this thing rolling, and they never did. I had a little bit of those feels, but then I couldn't weigh what Doug Peterson was doing, Cynthia, in I'm going to go for an onside kick to start the game, and then on 4th and 2 at the Chiefs 46, I'm going to punt.
I'll be honest with you. I was on Game Day Live this past week, which I love that show. It's so fun. We get to talk about what's going on during the games. And I was like, okay, so we're going full tilt.
That's right.
Here. We're going just all out crazy. And then it became so conservative.
Yes.
So it was a very strange juxtaposition of the two things. I was a little surprised, but that's that was what he felt like calling. Who knows? But completely strange to me. So I don't know. It was pretty funny to see that, but I also like the fact that, the Chiefs had to figure some things out, meaning, the run game, get increased efficiency there, and also integrate Kadarius Toney into the game plan in a meaningful way. And both of those things happened. I think the Jags were we're just going to leave Toney, completely open and see what happens.
He's a decoy here. They faked the pop pass. They never throw to the guy they fake the pop pass to. They'll throw to somebody else. We'll guard that. We'll have the rest of our entire defense. We'll leave him alone. And Mahomes didn't even look over there until he heard Kadarius Toney yelling. Like, he said that after the game, like, he heard somebody yelling, and he's like, what's going on? He looked over there. I was like, oh, nobody's there. And he's like, then I almost threw him out of bounds. Like, it was so wide open. Because
for real,
the Jags were right. Like, they never do that. Even Mahomes was like, I don't know, fifth option. You know, he had to yell at me for me to look over there. It was crazy. But I love the next-gen stat that you had with how much separation was there, just how wide open that was.
Like the most wide open section stats been tracking, like over 20 yards. Like, okay, like let's just let him have like wide open green grass. Let's see what happens. I'm just surprised his voice carried that far away from.
That's a good point.
From everyone else.
Yeah. So just all the senses working for all the players out there. Mahomes is reading the defense, looking at what the defensive line is doing, where he has to be in the pocket, and then hearing Kadarius Toney in his right ear going, "Hey, psst, over here! Woo! Hey,
we didn't know
open."
Kadarius Toney could yell so loud.
Apparently he can. We also know that he offers some different things, Cynthia, than. You know, the highlight reels of Kadarius Toney that have been out there, and mainly they're going to focus on how slippery he is, his change of direction, his ability to break tackles or just make guys miss in general. I was most impressed with not his hopping into the end zone. That was cool and fun, and him just having a little fun with that. Not his run down the sideline when he spun, between two defenders and stayed on his feet and picked up another 10 yards. It was the sort of back shoulder, Mahomes, I'm going to give this guy a chance, and he goes up and high points the ball, snatches it out of the air, gets 2 feet down, survives the ground, gets up first down. I hadn't seen that highlight of Kadarius Toney to where it's like, oh, by the way, he can also go and high point the ball. That was the most impressive part to me of the entire game, was just him making that catch, and also Mahomes having the trust of saying, no, I'm going to give this guy a chance to go up and make a play. Not just, Cynthia, I'm going to put the ball in his hands down the line of scrimmage and let him make the play.
Right. It's interesting. I don't know if Kadarius Toney was ready for that NFL level high pointing, right? Like, he hasn't really been able to, to showcase that until this point. So, I mean, many people would say that if they were, able to have Patrick Mahomes be their quarterback. So, it's not that big of a surprise. But, I think that the thing that I really like that is not as sexy as watching that part is his ability to run the routes really precisely with almost, very little. It's not like he's been studying the playbook for 11 weeks, right? Like, so it's a really good sign that his ability to be where he's supposed to be, so you can track him with computer vision to see how he's sort of doing and how consistent the routes are. And they've been extremely consistent, which is, again, it's not the sexiest part, but that's actually super important. Yeah.
I mean, when they traded for him, we had talked about, some comments of, well, the previous staff there in New York with the, Joe Judge, they couldn't reach him. They couldn't get to him. Brian Daboll and Kafka and this staff couldn't reach him, couldn't get to him, whatever it was, just didn't work. And then it's like, okay, so if you can reach him, or whatever that even means, I don't know, because I'm not there in those conversations, right? It might have been something where he just didn't feel wanted. I don't know. But if you can get him to buy in, boy, how good he can be. And for Patrick Mahomes to say after the game, and I talked about this last couple of days just because I think it might be the most important part of the entire deal, in that Mahomes saying after the game that, Kadarius Toney's been in the facilities as much as Patrick Mahomes has been since they traded for him. And he's like, he's here as long as I am throughout the day. To me, that's getting somebody to buy in, right? That's somebody going, all right, taking this. If he's there as much as Patrick Mahomes is, then I'll take my chances on him being able to learn the playbook and knowing where he's supposed to be, and the Chiefs then being able to utilize what his talents can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And also it speaks to his talent level, because there's one thing like studying it, and understanding it like from a conceptual standpoint of like, okay, this is the theory behind what we're doing. There's another thing to like actually make your body do it. And it's not like, like that's why they have preseason and, training camp and all of these things, right? To like create those opportunities to get your body to do the physical things that you see from from all of the different things that you're studying. So, it's just credit to him for not just being able to learn it, but also to be able to execute it, which is that's not an easy thing to do, because people, don't necessarily understand. Like, it's not like Kadarius Toney was already this established, like, Devontae Adams-like receiver who has all this NFL experience catching tons of passes and has this routes that he likes, and it has, that kind of thing. That's not the case here. Like, this is a guy who's, also learning. He's also still growing and developing in the league. We don't exactly know who he is yet, so credit to him for piecing all of those things together.
Visiting with Cynthia Frelund, NFL Network analytics expert. Mahomes has gone from like the second or fourth betting favorite before the season for the MVP to now the heavy favorite to win the MVP. In the last 3 weeks, he's averaged 400 yards per game throwing. He also has another 100 yards rushing total in those 3 games and 9 total touchdowns. The question I'm wondering is, without Tyreek Hill was a big part of the offseason, wondering what Patrick Mahomes would look like. And Mahomes even, talking about that there's not a feel of like forcing it or I need to make sure I get this guy the ball or, it's, going through the reads. And I think there was an element of Tyreek's there. I'm gonna throw the ball to Tyreek. Okay, he may not be open, but he's Tyreek open. Okay, so I'm gonna throw him the ball as opposed to just simply this is what the play is, this is what the scheme is, this is what the read is. The numbers he's putting up this year, like quarterback rating, is in line with what he did a couple of years ago. Last year was an off year, but he had a 108 quarterback rating in 2020. He's got a 106 this year. He had a 78 QBR in 2020. He's got a 78.6. The completion percentage 66.3, 66.3, 66.9. Like it's not exactly like he's dropped off, but it has a feel that he's playing better football. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's anecdotal. Maybe it's just what people were looking to see because there was no Tyreek Hill. It has a feel of him playing better football. Do you think he is playing better football, that this is just the next step or a progression that was going to happen in, year 5 of him being a starter with Andy Reid? And what do you make of that? Like, is he playing his best football of his career right now?
I mean, it's almost like Patrick Mahomes is like a future first ballot Hall of Famer, and Andy Reid is like the most prolific play caller that we have in the league.
Calm down, Cynthia. All right, let's let him play a few games, okay?
But look, we talked about this at the onset of the season, and what we really talked about was that the net effect of having all of the pass catchers was greater than figuring out one particular situation with Tyreek Hill, and it's not like Travis Kelce is gone. My dog is very excited about this, just so you know.
Did your dog place any money on Mahomes for MVP?
My dog loves Mahomes because my mom loves Mahomes because she was so kind to him. So his name is Gordie Howe. So he's a tough little guy over here.
Right.
So
it's a hockey dog.
But he's so cute. Yes, he's like a husky German Shepherd mix. I rescued him, and he's
awesome.
Getting vocal now that he's used to eating and being loved. So
that's great.
Anyways, he loves our radio interviews. But look, when I look at Mahomes and what he's doing, it's no doubt it doesn't even seem strange to be like, okay, well, of course he's going to be in the conversation in the really the lead for MVP this season. This is a great quarterback making his team better. But it's all of the pieces working together between Andy Reid, between how Brett Veach has constructed just this great roster for him to work with, and also how all of these different skill sets are being optimized. Like you saw, Kadarius Toney getting wide open and yelling and figuring out how to make it happen. It's all working together. So picking the right pieces, having the right situations, and creating the right game plan, it's all working together.
So we never got into the running game aspect last week. It's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, and just what the Chiefs have done this year and the comparison between games in which they don't run the ball effectively, not necessarily the quantity but the quality of the runs, and games in which they do. And I get it, when you're leading, you're running the ball a little bit more. You're probably, if you're leading and winning, you've probably been effective offensively, depending on what it is. But the Chiefs in games in which they had scored an average of 40 points, which was 4 games before this game against the Jags, 4 games in which they averaged 40 points in. They had picked up over 5 yards per carry in those games and over 130 yards per game. And in the other 4 games, they averaged 19 points per game, and they were down at about, if you take away Mahomes' 60-something yards he had against the Titans, they were about 3.2 yards per carry and about 65 yards per game. Those are simplistic stats, right? Those are just generic stats there. But is there a connection, correlation, causation to sometimes the ease in which the offense looks like it's humming and scoring in the 40s or close to it, as opposed to sometimes struggling even against the Titans when Mahomes throws the ball 68 times and they score 20 in overtime, that just having the ability to run the effective runs that produce some yards even if you're not doing it 40, 50 times a game. Is there a correlation causation in that to you?
Totally. Part of it is, one of the ways you can sort the data so that you can look at it a little bit more like contextually, as opposed to get rid of some of the you're winning, so you run more type of situation, is look for on early downs or when the score is within one score, and how often and how effective the run has been, and also the space the defense gives. Because, see, keeping on early downs especially, keeping the defense disbalanced and having them account for run and pass on each down just creates more open receivers. It creates better opportunities in different parts of the field for gains. It's a higher probability of earning a first down or a touchdown, which is really all that matters. In general, your probability of that and your execution of the first down and touchdown is really the number one factor for if you win games. So the fact of the matter is that the run game with a guy like Patrick Mahomes under center, the run game doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be past a threshold, and that threshold is a little bit different in every game. I tried to come up with one number, as long as they're averaging over, in the first half of the game over 4 yards, but it's not really like that because it depends on individual defenses. But as long as that threshold is past where it needs to be for, earning first downs and touchdowns, then it's completely that is the key right there. That is the ticket. Just enough of a run to be able to get the pass to be open, dynamic, and basically Travis Kelce to be either distracting with tons of the defenders or open himself.
No, it makes sense, and I cannot find the. I put all this stuff in on a scratch piece of paper when I was just trying to figure out, and I went through. I need to find it because I went through the game logs of every single game that was after the Titans game, but every single game to look at when they ran the ball, what the down and distance was, what the yards were, and just tried to track it drive starters that the Chiefs really like to run the ball to start a drive. They do that a lot. The first play of a drive is a run. So maybe it's just like a, if we talk about in a 2-minute drill, okay, get a little 7-8 yard pass if you've got time, just to kind of get things going, and I think the Chiefs do that a lot with running the ball. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know there was a connection in the 4 games in which they scored 40 on what the early down runs looked like and the yards they were picking up, as opposed to the Titans and the Chargers game and the Bills, in which the early down runs were 1 or 2 yards and then your second down and 8, as opposed to second down and 5 or 4. So you're right. There was definitely that correlation. I need to go and find it just so I can keep track of those and not have my, however long it took me to do that just wasted for no reason. It's always just looking to waste time. No big deal.
No scratch paper. You gotta frame that one. That's the framer. You gotta keep those.
You know what I didn't do? I didn't transfer it into an Excel spreadsheet, which is typically what I do. Use the scratch piece of paper, put it all together, and then put it in an Excel spreadsheet. And I'm not sure where the piece of paper is. So
the thing you point out there, though, that's pretty keen is the difference is each different team has sort of I was trying to get to one really nice number so we could have it and be they're averaging, here's the benchmark, they're exceeding it. But unfortunately, like you said, because Titans very good against the run, Bills very good against the run, so it's going to look a little different in each against each particular configuration. So that's kind of, but the reality is it just needs to be appreciably better than what they're giving up in the run. It's basically what it boils down to.
Yeah, and I'm even looking at Arizona. They averaged 5 yards to go, so 3rd and 5 was the average third down rates, and they also picked up 11 yards per play on those 3rd and 5s. The Bucks, it was 3rd and 4.5. They also picked up 8 yards per play on those downs. And then against the Chargers, it was averaging around 7 yards on third downs. So, I mean, it's a difference of 2.5 yards, but that seems pretty massive when you're averaging on your third downs, 3rd and 7 essentially throughout a game.
And also, this Chargers run defense is, Chargers run defense is not their strength.
Right.
Just put it that way.
And yet they were still sitting at 3rd and 7s throughout the game, so they just were not getting it done. In a number of different ways or reasons. Cynthia Frelund, NFL Network analytics expert, our guest. All right, so the Bills. somehow they're starting on the track of what happened a year ago. They beat the Chiefs, and then they went 3-5 over the next 8 games. They beat the Chiefs. They're now 1-2 over the next 3 games with the bye week included. What's going on with this Bills team? Is there cause for concern with the back-to-back losses?
Well, the bigger cause for concern is the fact that they're in their division. They're not even leading.
Yeah,
if the Jets
third.
win, and I mean that's wild. So it's all about making it to the postseason. It doesn't at this point. Getting the number 1 seed is getting further and further out of reach for them. So, which is a wild thing to say because I think most people with the eye test would think, okay, Chiefs and Bills are up there as kind of these industry leaders for all of super elite teams, but. It's interesting because the turnovers for them have just been so massive, and especially, obviously you watch that Minnesota game, and that one specific turnover in their end zone was the ridiculous. I couldn't make that up if we
Right.
It's like, okay, what happens next? This? Oh, okay. I wouldn't even be able to make it up. So, that was an interesting one, but they've got to be careful because, this division, the Dolphins got better during the trade deadline. The Jets have kind of sneakily won games. I don't know if I necessarily think that they're contenders for the Super Bowl by any stretch, but they're certainly that game that they dropped to the Jets is going to be a costly one. And the Patriots even have some dynamics of increase. Who knew we were talking about the Patriots as the number 4 team in the division? But it's just wild to see how it happens. But it matters for going down the stretch, especially because their defense is so decimated, missing Jordan Poyer for most of the season. Micah Hyde's already completely gone, and then all of the corners have been gone. So, we'll have to see if they can get healthy enough to kind of make a resurgence that brings them to a high enough standing to get themselves in good playoff seating.
So, looking at Josh Allen as well, and he talked about it after the Jets game that, hey, you're not going to win a game when your quarterback plays like bleep. And then, the fumble happens, and there's a lot of that can take place in that mechanism from snapping the ball to the center has to be lower than he typically would snap the ball because he knows low man wins. And then the Vikings are not just simply looking at it as they're going to down the football. It's we can actually, win this thing if we stop them or get a safety, we get the ball back, kick a field goal to win. So it's a little bit different. Josh Allen realizes that. The offensive line realizes that. All of that stuff goes into it. But, from the Tampa Bay game a year ago is where it felt like there was a turning point for Josh Allen as a quarterback. At halftime, when he came out in that second half against the Bucs and was just dynamite. And then what he did the rest of the year, including, in that Chiefs game, it just felt like there was a different Josh Allen. And then this year as well. Since the Chiefs game, he's completing, less than 59% of his passes for 250 a game. He's got 3 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and a 67 quarterback rating. Is there a concern that Josh Allen, at least, in this short period of time is, I don't know if regressing is the right word, but, just.
I think he's trying to take on too much.
Okay, yeah.
I think I don't know about regression.
Yeah, I don't think that's the right word, but just he's not playing well, obviously.
No, but I think he's trying to do too much. I think he's trying to take on too much, and I think that you saw Devin Singletary finally score his first and second touchdowns of the season this past week. But that tells you a lot right there, right? You're rushing touchdowns, your number 1 running back, and yes, they are a committee running back situation, but it's week 10. That's your first touchdown.
Yeah.
I know they had their bye, but wow, that's 9 games. So, the run game hasn't been helping. I think that they're adjusting to new play caller with Ken Dorsey, and although he has seemed great, it seems like they need to do a little bit more to minimize turnovers and perhaps get the ball in a situation where they're not giving it over to if they're leading, then teams are going to throw more. If teams throw more, then their secondary, which, again, we talked about the injuries, is going to be exposed more. It's very hard to withstand that kind of passing attack. Justin Jefferson aside, Justin Jefferson is awesome. Taking nothing away from him. But if you pass that often against that many people who are not Cam Lewis is no Jordan Poyer. I'm sorry. He's a good player, but he's not Jordan Poyer. So you're putting yourself actually in really unfavorable situations. You need to run more to chew up more of that clock. The play calling has been a little sus, and I certainly, I have a lot of faith in them to right the ship, but you have to remember, don't make it all be Josh Allen's legs, especially if he's been dealing with some injuries. And we weren't even sure if he was going to play. I mean, maybe they were always sure, but at least publicly they said they weren't sure if he was going to play. That's pretty crazy if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean,
let's have him rush for 65 more yards. No.
Well,
don't do that.
It's obvious how good Brian Daboll is as a coach of what he's done with the Giants this quickly.
Totally.
I mean, it's just you can't ignore that impact. And Dorsey might be a phenomenal coach and play caller one day, but there's no way you step in and just seamless transition from somebody who clearly is that good to Dorsey.
Exactly.
And it might even just be like a communication thing, whereas Brian Daboll's there, he might be someone that just, goes to Josh Allen and is like, hey, you don't need to make that throw. Hey, what are you seeing here? What are you doing? Hey, Josh, you don't need to do this or that. Whereas, I don't know, does Dorsey feel the same sort of connection or relationship that could talk to him like that? Whereas Daboll is credited by Josh Allen of really changing his career, that there will be this sort of trust into, okay, he's telling me this, I'm going to do that, as opposed to I'm the leading MVP and you're the new guy, so come on, Ken Dorsey. I know what I'm doing here.
All time, I think part of it is a little bit of they need to craft some smart running plays that are efficient and effective. Because I would say, if I were advising them, if I worked in their analytics staff, I would say, hey, we need to actually slow the game down. We're actually not in good shape if we get out to a 2-score lead. That's not great for us. And that sounds crazy because, you want to get a good lead going. But the reality is if you want a 2-score lead and then be able to run the ball. If you can't run the ball, then you're daring these teams to expose the weakest part of your defense. So, let's do some things to even if we have to slow the drive down by a run that doesn't necessarily work, it still chews up 40 seconds more than this other pass that stops the clock, right? It sounds stupid, but being committed to the run game, even if it doesn't look super effective, even if it's not for 4 yards per carry, that's a sounder strategy than what they've been doing. Again, it seems counter, but even a little bit more of that. They had some strange play calls the game before against the Jets, really strange play calls that led to a little bit more time on the clock and turnovers, and that's not an easy thing to overcome, even if you have Josh Allen, who is right up there amongst the best quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, and just some randomness that goes along with the NFL and how incredibly random that game was, from a one-handed catch on 4th and long to a fumbled snap to a coin toss to the interception and Gabe Davis's catch, no catch that wasn't reviewed. All of it. That was just unbelievable in that game, and the impact that you can see from a wide receiver. All right, Chiefs Chargers, Cynthia, real quick. Do you have a score or a margin one way or another in mind of what you're seeing from the simulations?
I think it's going to be a nice. I at least have over. I'm working on it a little bit more, but I at least have over a touchdown win for the Chiefs, of course. And the interesting part here is I don't have an incredibly high-scoring game in this one, and not on this part of the Chiefs. I think that the Chargers are going to have a harder time scoring. Again, we don't know if Keenan Allen will play. He hasn't played really all season, so that's difficult. Mike Williams has been out, so it's really going to be how do you stop Austin Eckler in this matchup, and I think that the Chiefs are well positioned to do that. And for the last thing that's interesting, I just think it will be an opportunity for the Chiefs to really explore a little bit more in the run game, which means a lower overall scoring game. But again, not because the Chiefs aren't holding up their end of the bargain.
Cynthia Frelund, NFL Network analytics expert. Cynthia, great stuff as always. Very much appreciate the time. Enjoy the football. Looking forward to our conversation next week. Thank you so much.
You got it. Have a great one.
Absolutely. You too. There's Cynthia Frelund. Great stuff. NFL Network analytics expert, and breaking down the Chiefs, the NFL, what's going on around the AFC, NFC as well. So certainly appreciate her joining us. More than a touchdown win, not necessarily a high-scoring game, more on the Chargers' inability to score, what she thinks is going to happen Sunday night. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. We'll hear from the Chiefs coming up later on this hour. More Zone next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson
I want some butts at that point.
on Sports Radio 810.
Top Gun, and you buzz the tower. I want some butts, okay?
All right, coming up in the next segment, about 10 minutes from now, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. We'll also hear from Trent McDuffie and Isaiah Pacheco. They will be at the podium today. The new running back one for the Chiefs. CB1 and RB1. Would McDuffie be CB1 Snead? But Snead does so many other different things. So Snead is like weapon number however many. But yeah, McDuffie and Pacheco. A couple rookies at the podium today with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. So we'll hear from them. You know, one of the things that Cynthia talked about with the Chargers is, you know, without Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, and that was the case this past weekend for the Chargers against the 49ers, is that Austin Eckler is the main guy. Like, you got to figure out, how do you stop Austin Eckler? How do you limit Austin Eckler? And the 49ers are one of the best defensive teams against running backs because their linebackers are so good in coverage. And Austin Eckler had 7 receptions for 39 yards. So about 5.6 yards per reception, but still, that was on 12 targets, by the way. So 12 targets for a total of 39 yards for Austin Eckler. Against the Chiefs, he had 9 receptions for 55 yards in that game. And that was with Mike Williams. So yeah, Austin Eckler becomes the biggest threat. How do you stop him? I was looking at the Chiefs and what the running backs have done against the Chiefs this year out of the backfield, because remember, that used to be such a big deal for the Chiefs. Running backs are going to come in. If the running back can catch the football out of the backfield, the Chiefs are going to struggle with them. Remember the Packers and Aaron Jones when he had, like, it seemed like 500 yards receiving in that game? It's like, well, they can't guard it. They don't have linebackers that can guard a running back. They can't cover. Well, they can cover better, it seems like. I don't know what their ranking is and where they fall with defense against running backs and receptions and yards per target and all of that stuff. I haven't looked that up. I just very briefly looked through and saw the running backs' receptions and yards against the Chiefs this year in the 9 games they've played. And overall, 61 catches for 449 yards in the 9 games. So about 7.4 yards per catch. But also, it's not like, you know, the running backs are the ones that are really killing them. It's about 50 yards per game in receiving yards for a running back. But it always felt like, and again, I'd have to go back and compare, but it always felt like the running backs just toasted the Chiefs. And it doesn't have that feel this year. And it's been kind of the same with and without Willie Gay. I thought there would be a huge difference with Willie Gay in there, without Willie Gay in the game. But as far as receptions and yards, it's been kind of the same. 7.5 yards per reception without Willie Gay on the field. 7.2 yards per reception for running backs with Willie Gay on the field. But you know what? Now that I look at it, in the 4 games without Willie Gay, there were 32 passes to running backs. In the 5 games with Willie Gay, there's only 29. So there's 1 less game and 3 less receptions and also 30 fewer yards in 1 more game. So maybe that is the impact. They might be averaging somewhat of the same yards per reception, but there are just fewer of them if the running back is covered, if Willie Gay's out there, other guys that can do that. So yeah, it doesn't feel like the threat that it used to be in the past where, Travis Etienne can catch the ball out of the backfield. Yeah, he did for 3 receptions, 28 yards. Oh, no, McCaffrey's there. Yeah, 2 receptions, 24 yards. The Buffalo Bills, Singletary, he is not really running the ball. 4 receptions, 22 yards. So it hasn't been that just killer. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from the Chiefs on the other side of the break. More Zone next.
You're in the Zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll hear from Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. We'll hear from Isaiah Pacheco and also Trent McDuffie. Blast from the past. Martavis Bryant, last playing in the NFL in 2018, has surfaced in the XFL. He was the first pick.
The Vegas Vipers.
Okay, the Vegas Vipers select Martavis Bryant with their first pick of the XFL draft. Raiders fans, would remember Martavis Bryant in his very long stay of 8 games for the Raiders before being released. And the suspensions that he faced, I don't know that it was level of Josh Gordon talent and what could have been, but the Martavis Bryant with the league's substance abuse policy in being suspended 4 or 5 games, having a year-long suspension, I think a couple times in his career. But, man, he was good. He had 14 touchdowns his first 2 years in the NFL. And a little connection between that and locally, in 2017 when Martavis Bryant demanded a trade, he was then benched, and inserted in the starting lineup was Juju Smith-Schuster, who then those final 7 games went on to catch almost 700 yards, 4 touchdowns, pacing for 1,500 yards over the course of a full season, and almost double-digit touchdowns over the course of a full season of what he did in those 7 games. And Juju Smith-Schuster did not relinquish that starting role the rest of the way. There's your connection and your tie-in from Martavis Bryant to the Chiefs, and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Trent McDuffie and Isaiah Pacheco, who will talk and get an update on one Juju Smith-Schuster, who we know was in concussion protocol. We'll see what the latest is with that as practice today. We'll see who is going to practice, who is not going to practice for the Chiefs. So Andy Reid's going to be up. We're told it's going to be very soon that Andy Reid is going to be up at the podium. And when he does, we'll head out there because we want to hear the injuries and things like that. Here's Andy Reid.
Has the illness to his abdomen. He's getting better, but not back yet. 2 people in concussion protocol are Lamons and Juju, and then Scantling is just sick. He's got an illness. So Frank is back, which is a positive. And then we look forward to playing the Chargers. We know they're a good football team. They're getting some of their players back. We realize that. And so we'll we'll have a good week of practice, getting ready for him starting today. Time yours.
With Juju and understanding that he is in the concussion protocol, Coach, what's your outlook for him this week?
Yeah, I mean, you take it day by day, but we'll be cautious with it. We're not going to do anything that you shouldn't do according to what the data shows, and how he feels.
As a league, with the things that happened this year around, with the Tua situation, all that stuff, how much more cognizant are you guys of this than maybe you were 20 years ago when you started doing this?
Yeah, listen, I think the league does a great job. The one thing that amazes me about the league is they don't shy away from situations. So as tough as it can be, some people turn their back on things. I don't think the league does that. And this has been one of them. I mean, the time that we've spent at the owner meetings on protection for players, safety, in particular concussions, and soft tissue injuries. So I think it's come a long way. I think it will continue to develop as the helmets get better and the rules, the guys get used to the rules and the officials get used to officiating it and so on and so forth. So.
Coach, one of the things, just kind of following up on what you were just describing, Bill Belichick, I believe on Monday or Tuesday, talked about being able to utilize a challenge after the 2-minute warning. I believe you're on the competition committee. What are your thoughts on that? And I think that's coming from some of the missed calls that the officials may have missed over the weekend.
Yeah, I'm on the coaches committee, not the competition committee, but we deal with that stuff. I don't have one way or the other. I haven't talked to Bill, so I mean, but normally if he says something, he's put some thought into it, and it's normally a pretty good idea. So, it's maybe something we look at in the offseason.
Coach, on Sunday, you mentioned the MRI for Wiley. I guess he's back to practice, so everything was okay with his elbow.
Yes, yes. They braced it. You'll see him. He has a brace on it, but he feels pretty good.
Coach, I know you guys have always been aggressive, and we've asked Dave this a couple of times when he's been available. Dave told you like to be aggressive on the returns and everything when it's possible, but is the game evolving to where the kickers, the punters, the coverages are so good that, you just can't have the kind of returns, the kind of success you've had in years past?
Yeah, some of it's rules too, and they change to try to protect the guys. There are a lot of injuries that have taken place in the kicking game, so they move that around. Now, Dave's a good one to talk to because he's on that committee where they talk about all that stuff. So, but I still think it's a viable part of the game, and I still think you make plays there when you have the ball, the opportunity to block, tackle. I mean, those fundamentals become very important on special teams. The return, your blocking in space has to be very good. That takes skill and work. So, and we need to get better at it.
Sorry, does your philosophy change with the way Patrick has evolved and has, effective as he's been? Do you okay, we want to be aggressive now, we can dial it back a little bit because we've got a guy that we really trust at under center?
Maybe in certain cases. It'd be whatever situation. Specifically, if I say no and we do something, then I look like a fool up here. But there's certain times when you're going to be a little bit more aggressive than others.
Andy, how did Clyde take his lower amount of playing time the other night? And what'd you tell him about that and his role going forward?
What I love about Clyde is Clyde wants to play. So I wouldn't expect anything less than that. How he handled it, though, was like a pro. But he wants to play. And I would think less of him if he didn't want to play. So it's the way that rotation goes. It's a crazy thing because we don't go in thinking that. But because of the way the series worked, short series here, and he gets in for 3 plays and he's out. We don't have that many 3 and outs as an offense. And he happened to be one of them. So the numbers got skewed. And it's kind of what happened with Pacheco, before that. So, well, we're working through it, and it's not because of his ability. I mean, that's not.
A different health and safety issue from concussions, but SoFi Stadium's turf has been in the crosshairs a lot. Where do you stand on artificial turf, natural grass?
Yeah, listen. I mean, I prefer natural grass. I've listened to all the studies, the density studies. I've seen all the different compounds that they put into the thing. I still like grass, natural grass. The way our league does it. I mean, I've seen some fields that I'd probably go let's go artificial on, but for the most part, the guys that take care of these fields in the league do a nice job. And the grass fields, I'm saying. And the turf, I mean, they make it as good as they can possibly make it with the turf stuff, with the artificial turf. But I would prefer regular grass.
Coach, I was going to follow up on Adam's question about the running back situation. It was reported that you all had interest in Benjamin before the Texans cleaned him off of waivers. Looking at that, if that were to be the case, and anything comment on that particularly, if you were to bring another running back in, what's that say about Ronald Jones and his ability to be able to make the active list?
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about that, so I honestly don't know anything about it. I know Brett looks at everybody, but everything, but I never heard that. I mean, we're good with what we have right there.
So is there any? What does he need to do? I guess to see the field. I know we haven't seen him play.
Yeah, so Ronald's a capable player, obviously, and it's the number. It all started back in training camp. I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago. So when you kind of lose out on the spot, now you got to wait till somebody gets banged up or sick or something of that sort, and until you get in. I mean, you're not going to dress more than 3 of them normally. And but we feel very comfortable with him being in there too. So.
It sounds like MVS might be okay, but today you'll be rolling with Watson, Tony, and Moore. Just how confident in you the depth of the receiver room?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. We've got a couple other guys. You've seen camp up in a few weeks. Not this past game, but 2 before that. So we know he can do it. Yeah, I mean, we're fine.
Andy, in relation to you guys taking over the number 1 spot in the AFC, certainly a long way to go, but just wanted to backtrack to the offseason, the moves you guys made, obviously getting rid of a pretty high caliber player. Can you recall having a conversation with the team as far as, hey, the end goal doesn't change when you make a move like that? I mean, or was it just a natural thing? Or?
You know what, Sam? I think the players know how we roll, and you don't really have to say that. And I'm glad he's having a good year. I mean, that's great for the National Football League. It's great for him and his family. So I'm happy for him, and that's the way we approach it. But we also have good players, and Brett does it as well as anybody. I'm finding people and bringing them in that he thinks will fit in the offense, defense, and special teams. So we have full trust in him as a coaching staff. But the guys that we've had here, man, we've loved having, and we want them to be able to make a living doing it and make as much money as they possibly can doing it. So if they go somewhere else, they go somewhere else, and then we'll get what we need and go roll.
We're sitting here in the middle of November. You guys have had a couple of dogfights with the AFC West teams already this year. But if you win this game, you're 3 games clear of the Chargers. Are you surprised that that's how the division is shaken out so far this year?
Well, you're right at that time where, I mean, these games are so important. It's important for the Chargers, it's important for us, Denver, and the Raiders likewise. So that's the time of year you're in. And you got to make sure that you batten down the hatches, man, and get things, detail your work, and don't leave anything uncovered there. So.
Last one, Herbs. Coach, on Juju Smith-Schuster, obviously there's a lot of controversy around that hit. Have you heard from the league clarifying whether it was a shoulder-to-shoulder hit or was a helmet-to-helmet hit?
No, I mean, I heard from the officials, but I haven't heard from the league yet. They'll give us our report here.
Would you hear from the officials?
It was shoulder-to-shoulder.
Yeah. Or you talking about what?
During
they
the
told
game.
you at the time?
Yeah, at the game.
Is it standard for the league to, and something, since that's become a big talking point around, is it standard for the league to reach out to you, or is that the kind of thing you have to reach out to them to get some kind of input?
Yeah, and, well, it goes both ways. Yeah, it goes both ways. But we have a form that we can fill out and ask questions. So.
All right, there's Andy Reid, and yeah, they'll hear from the league. We'll see what the league has to say. I think Andy Reid is expecting to hear at least. I shouldn't say expecting. I think he would like to hear that, it wasn't shoulder to shoulder, that it was helmet to helmet, because as he said to the official, it's kind of hard for a guy to be laying like that when there wasn't helmet to helmet contact. But that is certainly being a topic of discussion. Clyde Edwards-Helaire says he wants to play, handled it like a pro. But he said, they don't go into the game thinking that it will turn out to be the way that it did. He said it just the way the series worked, that Clyde got in there and that series happened to be a 3-and-out. And they don't go 3-and-out very often. The numbers were skewed. But it doesn't mean you only have to play them one series. You had other series in the game. You just chose Pacheco and McKinnon to play in those series. And Eno Benjamin, Field Yates, and a couple of others reporting that the Chiefs put in a waiver claim on former Cardinal running back Eno Benjamin, who is now a Texan. The Chiefs, Saints, Seahawks, Texans also putting in a claim. Andy Reid did not know about that. Didn't hear that Brett Veach put in a claim on Eno Benjamin. That'd be interesting if the Chiefs claimed a running back and Andy Reid... we got some. Oh, cool, Brett. Okay, cool. So, what's the move? We're going to cut this guy, or so is he going to play this week? Okay. I don't know. Here's the thing. He sounded convincing when he goes. Honestly, I'd never heard that. I don't know. Maybe throwing the honestly in there is makes it sound more convincing to me. But boy, that would be odd if Andy Reid had no clue that Brett Veach put in a waiver claim on Eno Benjamin. Not even like a text, not even like a memo. He didn't send like a raven to him to let him know that, Eno Benjamin's been released. It was 2 days ago that he was released? Like, we're going to put in a waiver claim. See what happens. Or he could have said, Brett Veach, like, we're going to put in a waiver claim. We're not going to get him, but we'll put in a waiver claim. I don't know what the advantages of that would be. I'm not sure. Also with the injuries, he said Mecole Hardman has an illness to his abdomen. So an illness to his abdomen. Lamons and Juju in concussion protocol. Frank Clark back. So that's the injury update. Wiley back as well. But Mecole Hardman, illness to his abdomen. That's interesting. So, and then talking about the wide receiver depth, that he said they're good. They have the depth. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's one thing to say you've got the depth, like you've got players, but can they go out there and perform if there's no Juju Smith-Schuster, if there's no Mecole Hardman, and it's MVS and Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore and Justin Watson and Marcus Kemp, obviously Travis Kelce, but what does that look like against the Chargers? And certainly you would like to have a running game because the Chargers' run defense has been more than suspect. It's been bad, and they've lost a number of players to injury. So their run defense has been bad, and their defensive depth has been compromised to go along with that. So you would hope that they'll be able to run the ball. Maybe they were thinking with Eno Benjamin. I don't know. Probably not. But yeah, so there you go. And also prefers natural grass, the SoFi field and all of that stuff. Here's Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick, this is obviously, you surprised at all that if you win this, you'll be 3 games up in the division after all the moves that were made in the West to make this a little more competitive for you guys?
Yeah, because you understand, we've played 2 of these teams now. We haven't played Denver yet, but you know that they're great football teams. They just, in football, man, anybody can beat anybody any day. And so it hasn't gone their way in some of these games, these close, hard-fought games. But we understand how good the Chargers are. We're not looking ahead to being 3 games up or whatever it is. We're looking at what can we do to win today so that we can win on Sunday. And so we understand it's going to be a great challenge, and we're going to play our best football if we want to win.
Patrick, I asked Andy about this, but the moves you guys made in the offseason, obviously getting rid of a pretty high-caliber player, what was the mindset after that? I asked this because you guys took over the number 1 seed. What was the mindset as far as keep striving towards the same goal? Was it a conversation you felt like you had with the players and understood things?
I think guys just understand the culture that Coach Reid has built here over the years. It's bigger than one player. It's bigger than myself. And so what can we do to improve ourselves, to give ourselves the best chance to win? And we understand how great Tyreek is. I think people see that now in Miami even more than they saw it here, how special of a player that he is. But in this offense, it's about everybody. How can we make each other better? And we've brought new guys in and kind of kept the older guys have gotten bigger roles. And we've done whatever we can to win football games, and that's helped us get this, being the number 1 seed now, but how can we continue that and get even better as the season goes on?
Were you pretty confident that both you guys would excel the way that you have once you weren't playing with each other?
Yeah, I mean, I saw Tyreek at practice every single day, so I knew that he was going to make plays no matter where he was at, and he got in a great offense with other great players, so it made it easy for him to go out there and show his talent. And then for us, I mean, I knew the guys that we had in our locker room, and like I said at the beginning of the year, man, Coach Reid's had success everywhere, so if I just do what he says, usually good things happen.
Does it surprise you that people seem to get healthy the week of when they come to when you're about to play? And I believe Mike Williams along with Keenan Allen, they're expected to come back and play this week, kind of, and then who knows what happens next week.
I mean, it's a good thing to me. I mean, you're playing the best. I mean, every single week we want to play the best. We want to prepare ourselves to make a run in the playoffs, to try to get to the Super Bowl and win it. And if you play the best teams and with their best players and you win, it gives you that confidence that you can continue to get better and better. And whenever you play them in the playoffs, you're ready for it.
Patrick, because of injuries and such, you're going to start the week receiver-wise with Watson, Moore, and Toney. Just that's obviously a little bit different. What gives you the confidence in that group of guys?
Yeah, I mean, we put guys in positions to succeed. And so for me, it's about executing the offense, finding the open guy, and getting the ball in my hands and letting those guys make plays. And we've seen over the year that these guys can make plays in big moments. And so we'll give them those chances, as well as have some younger guys step up, and then hopefully we can get some guys back later in the week. And if not, we'll be ready to go with whoever's out there.
Specifically Watson, how critical has he been in sort of that underrated role for you guys this season in big spots?
Yeah, I mean, he's made a lot of big catches and big parts in games. He does a great job of blocking. It's crazy. Like in that last game, whenever we had some guys go out there back to back, he was kind of telling guys, "Hey, you go to this position and you take Juju's role, you take Marquez's role," and he knows every position on the football field, and he just wants to go out there and have success. So having guys like that, and I mean like that we have in the whole receiving room now, I think we'll be fine of just going out there and executing the offense.
Patrick, I saw yesterday that you quote tweeted Baldy's video of Jared McKinnon and his blocking ability. Just what do you appreciate most about what he's been able to do to keep you upright in certain moments this season?
Yeah, I mean, he has a great understanding of the protection plan. I mean, everything. That look that we got was kind of an unscouted look that we had gotten early in the season versus the Colts, where they used one of their linebackers to pick the tackle, and then the DN loops around. And earlier in the season, you might go with the linebacker because that's technically your guy, but he passed it off like he was an offensive lineman, man. And so for him, just knowing the protection plan, having that, like I said, that dog to step up and block a defensive end that's 6'5", 6'6", 280, and give me enough time to throw the ball downfield. I mean, that's what it takes in order to be a great team, is everybody doing their job. And it's special for a guy like that to take on that job and do such a great job of it.
Patrick, two-fold questions. Do you prefer being the top dog to where everybody's coming after you, or did you like it to where you were kind of trying to catch what Buffalo is at the moment? And I'll follow up.
I don't really care. I just want to win.
Okay, that's good. That being the case, what has surprised you most? Each week in and week out. Obviously, you coming out of the game Sunday, you see the Minnesota Buffalo game being in the dogfight, and then of course, obviously anything can happen in the NFL. But then Philadelphia losing Monday night to Washington, where people were. So I mean, what has surprised you most when you see week in and week out in the NFL?
It's not anything that surprises me. I mean, I understand it, man. I mean, everybody can beat everybody. I mean, there are great players on every single team in this league, and it's about who executes when it counts the most. And that's why we take situational football it's so important here. It's because it's something that changes games. I mean, everybody has great players. And we really focus on the situations that are going to win games, and we've done a great job this year of winning those situations. But let's keep it going, and whenever we get put in those situations again, let's maximize our opportunity and win more football games.
Patrick, when you look at surprised what Tony's been able to give you coming in so late?
I wasn't surprised about him making the plays, but just us being able to move him around as much as we have. I mean, it's a testament to him, man. He's really got in here. He's learned multiple positions, and we've moved him around now. It's not like he's in that one spot, and so we'll just continue to build on that. We don't want to overwhelm him. We don't want to put too much on his plate, but we're going to keep giving him more and more and more involved in this offense, because it'll make this offense better as a whole as the season goes on.
Back to the Tyreek trade for a second. Was there any thought at the time in your mind that maybe this was going to be a little more of a rebuilding year? Not a complete rebuild, obviously, but any more of a rebuilding year than anything else you've gone through since you've been here?
Not necessarily. Every time I step on that football field, I expect to win. And I think Coach Reid and Brett Veach are going to put guys around me that we're going to go out there and win football games. And I think they've done that. And even though we have young guys, we knew it was going to take time for them to keep getting more and more accustomed to how we do things. But we won some of those tight games early in the year, and I said those are some big wins for us, because those guys will learn even faster. And I think now we can continue to just build, and hopefully we can have the best team going into the playoffs whenever we're ready.
Patrick, just want to ask you about Justin Herbert, another young quarterback, and he was a little bit younger than you, but do you see any of yourself in the way that he plays, or maybe vice versa?
I mean, he's a special arm talent, man. And he throws some passes that I don't think anyone can throw in this league, and that includes myself. I mean, he has a cannon for an arm. You watch it. I watch on film every week because we play similar opponents. And there's some throws you just kind of shake your head because they're that special. And so I understand it'll be a great challenge for us as a team to go up against the Chargers and the talent that they have over there. And so how can we match that intensity? How can we match that talent and go out there and win a football game is what we have to focus on.
Patrick, I know the next man mentality, that when a guy goes down, you're obviously not going to quit, right? You keep playing and you got to put it in there, but it changes. The different skill sets change. When Juju comes out and somebody else has to play his role, do you go through a quick mental checklist? Okay, this guy does this better, he does this better, and I'm looking to make different reads based upon what his skill set is?
Not necessarily different reads. I think the coaches do a great job of putting the right guys in the right positions. And so I think you saw right when Juju went out, we put Sky kind of in that inside role, let him catch the ball, get upfield. That was Juju's route, but Sky can do some of those similar type things, so let's put him in that position. If like when McCole came out, we put Justin Watson, we put the Chargers the last time in that same position that it was McCole's route. He was tired, put Justin Watson in there, fast guy, he makes a play happen. And so I just rely on my coaches to put guys in the right position. And then I go through the reads, how I'm supposed to go through the reads. And I mean, other than if Kelsey's manned up, I give him the ball. But I go through the reads the way I'm supposed to go through the reads, and usually good things happen.
And then you said it was several years ago when you were on, I've asked you this before, but just get an update. Like when you were on LeBron's The Shop, you said, hey, in a couple of years, I'll really feel it. You were kind of talking about Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. You're 4.5 years in as a starter, 5.5 years in now. Do you feel like you know it all now, that it's reaction the way you were kind of aspiring it to be several years ago?
I think I'm definitely even a step further along with my process, but I still think I have a lot to learn. I mean, there's still certain protections that I get beat on because of the blitzes. There's certain coverages that get me because I don't recognize certain tells. So there's stuff that I can continue to get better at. But I mean, like the struggles like I went through last year, I think are something that you can just build on and learn from, and I think it's helped me be a little bit more patient. But there's still some times, like the end of the last game, I threw the pick where I get a little too aggressive. So I try to just kind of maintain that balance of being aggressive but making the right decision.
Okay. Thanks, Patrick.
Thanks, Peyton.
All right, there's Patrick Mahomes, and they get set for the Chargers coming up this week and talking about the different receivers, the pass pro by Jerick McKinnon. We'll hear from Isaiah Pacheco here next, and then Trent McDuffie. And then, of course, the part of the conversation has been Kadarius Toney. A big part of the conversation coming out of that game offensively has been Kadarius Toney. And Patrick Mahomes saying he wasn't surprised that Toney made the plays that he did. What surprised Patrick Mahomes was how many different ways they used him, or moving him around into different spots. And it wasn't just, here's the specific spot that you're going to play, and you play that. They moved him around. Here's Isaiah Pacheco.
Isaiah, first of all, you're kind of settling into that lead role, getting a chance to be out there first and get going and maybe get into a rhythm. That's one of the things Eric Bieniemy said was kind of the purpose of putting you out there first. You feel like you're settling in better, that it is easier maybe to get in a rhythm when you're getting first crack at it?
Yes, definitely going at it every week, getting the feel for it, different teams, different schemes. For me, is just having the same mindset every day when I come in the building of going to work. When I go out there in the practice field, go 100%. So when we come to game day, we can execute at a high, intense level.
It seemed like after the fumble happened, you had a lot of guys sort of patting you on the back, coming up to you. What were you thinking about in that moment that enabled you to reverse course and play really well?
With me, during the moment, I was thinking, I let my teammates down, but during the same time, I tried to go get the guy with the ball. So for me, right there, the finish of strain showed that, I cared. And when I came back to the sideline, I didn't held my head down because I knew that I had a strong feeling in my heart that I was angry enough to go back out there and execute my job to a high level.
Similar question, but what did it mean to you that the coaching staff immediately went back to you and gave you a chance to show that?
For me, it just showed me that that I could be something in this offense, and for me to just continue to put in that work and work on my pad level, so in the games that doesn't happen.
Did you know that? Did they tell you when the defense was on the field they were coming right back to you on that first play, or did you just find out in the huddle?
No, for me, I was waiting for my number to get called. The number got called, got back in the huddle. I was ready to go, locked in.
Clyde looked like he, when he came over after that, like he kind of had some words for you. What did he tell you?
Hey, it's ups and downs in this game. There's more game left. We got a lot of game. Keep your head up, and let's go. We got work to do.
Along those same lines, obviously it is a tight running backs room. How has he been with you over the last 3 games? How supportive has he been with you?
For me, it's a brotherhood in that running back room. We pushing one another. We giving each other examples of how we could have hit runs better, what we see here, what did they see from the sideline. So we're building in this room. There's a lot of football left, and we need all the guys to compete here to win.
We heard about the rhythm thing, and typically speaking, it sounds like the more carries you get, the rhythm is better and you feel better. Like how much better do you truly feel in a carry, let's say 9 or 10, than maybe 2 or 3, for example?
Just getting that first couple hits off in the game, getting used to it, but For me, just more so delivering the hit so the defense could feel me more so I could get a better run down the line in the end of the game. Just kind of get those guys on their toes. He's running hard.
You said,
Sorry, go ahead.
you said when you got drafted that the coach told you that you could have a role in this offense. Now that you kind of have that role, does it feel like that? Hey, did it feel in the beginning? Did it feel like, hey, they're just talking, as opposed to now when you're actually getting the rock and proving yourself on the field?
For me, it wasn't no talking. It was just keep your head down, keep working. If they call your number, be ready to go and execute. You never know when your number is going to be called, so when it's called, make sure you're ready to go. You never know what happened in this football season.
Jim McKinnon has shown a knack for pass pro. How much have you been able to take away from him as you develop that part of your game?
Definitely older guy in the room. He's been playing ball for a couple years now, so taking the game, even come to film study, to hitting a hole tighter, just getting a feel of understanding how does he feel about things. He's seen a lot of ball, and working off each other's game is helping me, and pretty sure he's helping me as well.
In college, you don't get a shot at a team a second time, right? Like you get one time, maybe next year before you play them again. This is the the turnaround game against the Chargers. What's it like, seeing a team for the second time for the first time in your football career?
For me, it's same mindset. It's a one-game season. I play like it's a one-game season. Every week, come ready to roll, and for us, start on the practice field today.
Okay. Thanks, Isaiah.
Yep. Thank you.
There's Isaiah Pacheco. We'll hear from Trent McDuffie here very soon, and Isaiah Pacheco getting ready for it's a good, an interesting point by Seren. Like you facing a team for the second time in the same season for the first time in your career. What's that like for you? He played 5 snaps against the Chargers. I'm going to take the over on that, Beards. I'll take the over on the 5 snaps in the game. See, looking through here. McKinnon, 27. Edwards-Helaire, 25. Pacheco, 5. Just move Pacheco to the top, and I think that's probably or maybe just flip Edwards-Helaire and Pacheco. McKinnon has been leading the running backs this year in the number of plays. So, so Isaiah Pacheco getting in a rhythm as the game goes along. But for him, I always feel when somebody says getting in a rhythm or a flow of the game, it's a matter of, you reading the blocks and getting a feel of what the defense is doing. And he talked about delivering the hit. That early in the game, you're just kind of letting them know that you're going to be running hard. So later in the game, they might be anticipating that or know that the hit is coming, or maybe, I don't know, on their toes, backing off to a certain degree. And then the conversation he had after the fumble with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, just telling him, look, there's ups and downs in the game. Keep your head up. Still work to do. And never dropped his head, after the fumble. Said he knew he let the team down, but knew that he would go out there and execute. And then we always wonder, like, those conversations like, hey, we're going right back to you. Keep your head up. We're going to give you the ball next. He's like, nah, I found out I was getting the ball next when they called the play. Go out there and call the play. All right, my number's called. Here we go. It's always it always feels it's that Hollywood effect, I guess, of the way the movies and poetic license it takes place with you fumbled, we're coming right back to you. Keep your head in the game. You're going to make a difference for us today. No. Coach, all right, let's run the ball. This is what we're going to do anyway, whether he fumbled or not. So next play, give the ball to Pacheco. He didn't fumble again, and hopefully that's not something that will bug him throughout his career, because the man certainly runs hard. There's no doubt. And I think there was a different element in that game than what we've seen in others because of some patience, because of the vision that goes along with that, how hard he runs, and a burst that the Chiefs haven't really had outside of McKinnon, but they've used him in different ways. But they certainly have not had that with Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Derek Gore, etc. And the pass protection with Jerick McKinnon. The question was asked to Patrick Mahomes about Brian Baldinger's tweet that he put out there, video study of Jerick McKinnon in pass protection, saying he looks like an all-pro right guard on this play. And they were blitzing Olukan and Walker. Well, Walker was on the line of scrimmage, but so they were blitzing Foye, Olukan, and he comes through the tackle guard spot, and McKinnon's there, meets him, but then they're running a stunt. So then Olakon goes towards, I think it might have been Wiley in the game at that time still, and then Walker is going to twist around, and Jerick McKinnon hands him off. Here you go. Here's 23. You got him. And then picks up Walker and rides Walker towards the middle of the field, towards Creed Humphrey. Mahomes rolls to his right. It was 3rd and 8. Finds Juju Smith-Schuster, 25-yard gain. Extend the drive. Now the next play was the Pacheco fumble. But on a 3rd and 8, Jerick McKinnon stepping up, picking up that block like he did. I mean, the man's good, and he takes pride in it, obviously, in being able to do that. He talked about that on Monday, the pride he takes in being able to pass protect like that. And you better. I mean, if you're not going to pass protect, you're not going to play. And Pacheco still has some learning to do. Pacheco still has some improvement to do. But as far as just running the football, he showed what he can bring to the table, and we'll find out on Sunday. Look, if the Chiefs use Pacheco the exact same way, then we don't have to hear Andy Reid or Eric Bieniemy or whoever talk about that, well, it's just game script, just game flow. There were some numbers that were skewed with the reps and the carries because of a 3-and-out that took place. Well, we'll see against the Chargers because Pacheco has started the last couple of games, and then he got the lion's share of carries in the game against the Jags. So what does he do now? Because the numbers I gave you on Monday, or maybe it was yesterday with Adam Teicher, with Clyde Edwards-Helaire's carries in the last 5 games, or last 6 games, 19, 9, 6, 4, 0. Or back-to-back games of 9. So 19, 9, 9, 6, 4, 0. That's trending in a certain direction, and it's not trending in a direction of, don't worry, Clyde, we're going to get right back to you. I'm excited to see what they can do with Pacheco as the running back. They put him at the podium today as well. Wonder if Pacheco knew that they were putting in a claim on Eno Benjamin from the Cardinals, who was cut in a surprise release.
I never heard that.
Brett Veach didn't tell you?
No.
He didn't let you know? What if Brett Veach would have told Pacheco and not Andy Reid? We're just gone through.
I feel like Andy Reid would have heard about it then.
Just randomly texting people. Hey, Legarius, we're going to put in a claim on Eno Benjamin. Hey, Colin Saunders, just a heads up, hey, Butker.
Don't tell Andy.
Hey, Butker. What do you think?
It's a Christmas present for him.
What do you think of this? We're going to put in a claim on Eno Benjamin. You saw him from the sideline when you were worrying about your hurt ankle. What do you think about Eno Benjamin if we put a claim in on him? Tommy Townsend. Percentage chance Andy Reid didn't know that there was a claim put in on Benjamin. 0? 0.5? 1? He said, honestly, I had no idea. I had no idea that Brett takes care of that. We always joke about the Brett takes care of that. Hey, Andy, there's this player that's out there, this player that might, it's been talked about. What do you think? Brett takes care of that. And then, we figure out who the players are, and then we go out there and play. Would have been weird if today Brett takes care of that and Eno Benjamin just shows up today in a Chiefs uniform. Eno, how are you? Nice to meet you. Rush chair. Damn glad to meet you. Would that be the end of Ronald Jones? Is that Clyde Edwards-Helaire? It'd probably be Ronald Jones. Or do you claim him and, figure some other things out? How do you keep both? I don't know. Both is in Ronald Jones and Eno Benjamin. I'm not sure that would, be the case. But they should have a successful running game this weekend. The Jags, game 1 of what is hoping to be back-to-back games of being able to run the football after not being able to do that against the Titans and not even attempting it, really, because we talked about the 68 times that Mahomes threw the ball, the 84 times that he dropped back to pass. When you take into sacks and scrambles and penalties that ended up being no plays, but he still dropped back to pass, and whether he threw the ball or was hit or free plays, things like that. When you're dropping back to pass that many times, there's just no trust in the running game whatsoever, and that's what took place. So they didn't even attempt to run the ball. Wanted to see, can they do it consistently in back-to-back games. Can they do it against the Jags and then the Chargers? And the Chargers' run defense is not good. And we went through the players that are missing for the Chargers, whether Bosa plays, whether that's going to be somebody that's actually out there. But Joseph lost for the season. And I'm just going to say Agba not going to play this weekend. That's for sure. He's lost for the season. They released Tillery, which would tell you that if he's not there, then they didn't think they were getting anything out of him anyway. But those are 3 guys that played in that game, and Bosa, if he doesn't play this weekend, he played in that game as well. That's 4 guys on the defensive line that potentially aren't going to be out there on Sunday night that were out there the first game. Throw in Rashawn Slater and maybe Mike Williams as well. Somebody who will be out there that wasn't the previous time is Trent McDuffie.
Trent, looking at the Chargers, what's the biggest threat you see so far, especially with a quarterback like Justin Herbert who can, sling it as far as he can downhill for you guys?
Yeah, I think that is going to be just the biggest factor is stopping Justin Herbert's passing attack because he can throw the ball anywhere, so being able to limit his passing lanes. And then I think Austin Eckler is also a great player who can do a lot of things. He's really good out of the backfield, catching passes and in the run game. So I think limiting those 2 to just as less yards as we can as a defense is going to help us out the most.
And Dave called you guys, the rookies, the Fab Five.
Yeah.
How much pride do you guys have in being such a successful young group, and
Yeah.
even LJ's his 3rd year, just being able to make the impact you're having at just such an early age in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, as a rookie and even just talking with all the rookies, especially the Fab Five, I think a big thing that we like to do is just show who we are and prove to everybody that we can do this. I think a cool thing that the rookies have started to do is put a lot more trust and confidence in the vets that they can trust us and that we're able to make plays on the field. So for us, it's fun to be out there with everybody. Like on 3rd downs, we have a package where there's 4 rookies out there. When I look back and see Brian Cook and Jay Watt on the other side and Josh, I'm like, how cool is this that everybody I came with, everybody who's learned the same lingo, we all taught each other, is all out there. I mean, it makes the game so much more fun.
How much time outside of the facility do you spend together, and just if you can give a glimpse into some of the things you guys like to do together outside of the facility?
Yeah, I mean, sure, we used to spend literally all the time together in OTAs. It's slowed down a little bit now during the season, but, I mean, shoot, we're just a bunch of jokesters, to be honest. Like, we're always cracking jokes, we're always laughing, we're always arguing with each other. Like, we're just basically like a band of brothers just stuffed onto a team. So I feel like from day one, everybody kind of connected and everybody was together. So it's really fun being with those guys.
You mentioned Austin Eckler and Justin Herbert. It looks like the Chargers might have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams.
Yeah, yeah.
What are they adding to this offense that they didn't necessarily have in week 2?
Yeah, I mean, they've been starters. They're vets, so Justin Herbert trusts them, trusts where the ball's going to be, so the time's going to be back. So I think a big thing for the DBs is to disrupt that timing and kind of just, they're fresh, they're new. So, I mean, anybody they put out there, if it's Mike Evans, if it's somebody else, Josh Palmer, like, we just got to play how we play, and I feel like we'll do what we have to do.
Looking back over the last couple of weeks, you had Derrick Henry and then ETN was coming in on fire. He rushed for like 400 yards in 3 games. What's the mindset? I mean, we know everyone focuses on the big guys inside and stopping the run, but this has always been a pretty good tackling secondary here since Steve Spagnuolo's come in. What's the conversation like with the corners and the DBs about stopping the run? How much pride is it? How much is it a point of emphasis?
Yeah, I mean, shoot. Even me, just as a DB, I've always been huge on just tackling, like making sure we get the runner down because we're defense, we're tacklers. Like, that's what we have to do. So coming here, I feel like there's no drop-off. Like, coming in, I understood that we're going to tackle as corners. Steve Spagnuolo is going to expect us in the box, like taking on these tight ends. So going into Sunday, it's no really a drop-off. It's not anything like we have to do something more than we already do. Like, it's just already ingrained in us. We've done many reps with it, so it's just built into us.
I know a lot of research goes into your game before they ever even sit down and talk to you. They've seen all your plays and all that. But is it something they do discuss when you're going through the interview process and they're talking to you, all the different teams? Do the Chiefs make that a point of emphasis, just even going back when they were kind of scouting you before the draft?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like all the teams really had an emphasis on tackling DBs. I feel like as a DB, if you can be a great tackler, you can play multiple positions. And that's something I pride myself in now as a corner, as a nickel, as a safety. Like, no matter what, if you can go out there and tackle on the field, then your defensive coordinator, your DB coach is going to trust to put you out there.
Understanding you haven't had a shot at this yet, but Mike Williams historically has been a challenge for the Chiefs. What are you guys, messaging-wise, saying about Williams and being able to stop him?
Yeah, I mean, we know he's a good player. You see what he did last time we played him, so we know the challenge that's coming up, and we're ready to just go out there and compete with them with a great receiver.
Do you have a lot of family coming to town, since it's close to where you grew up?
Yeah, definitely have quite a few family members coming out, so I'll definitely have quite a lot of energy on Sunday.
You hitting up guys for tickets and making sure you cover it all?
Yeah, I did that way before this was even a thing. Right when I knew I was going to LA, I was like, all right, y'all, like this is going to be a big game for me, so definitely going to need some tickets.
How do you maintain those emotions just knowing how many family and friends you'll have in attendance?
Yeah, I feel like, honestly, up to now, I've always had a lot of family come to games, which has been super important to me and something I've been blessed with. So going into it, it's exciting, but it's just another game for me, and that's kind of how I approach this.
I know you kind of talk about Mike Williams, but just the bigger receivers. I mean, you're not a small guy by any stretch, right? But there are some, and he's one of them. That's, kind of it's kind of like a linebacker walking out there. How do you view that? Is it taken on? You have to be careful about not getting too fired up, not trying to be too hard and get beat on a move or anything? Like, how do you approach the bigger guys?
Honestly, you just got to be more aggressive. Really, you just got to get hands on them. You got to know that they're big bodies. They're going to be strong, so you just got to fight pressure with pressure and go make a play when the ball's in the air.
Did you play against a guy like that in college?
There was a few receivers, that I played were bigger than me, but I went back to. Once you watch the film, once you break down what they're good at, strengths and weaknesses, you kind of create this game plan where you can fight certain things, which you know what they're going to do, and certain things you kind of just have to go out there and be a ball player.
Good. Awesome.
Thanks, Trent.
Appreciate it.
All right, there's Trent McDuffie. And look, if it's Mike Williams and Keenan Allen out there both, then he'll get an opportunity to guard them both. If it's just Mike Williams, he'll certainly get a chance to guard Mike Williams, who is a very large human being and has given the Chiefs trouble in the past. And so hopefully Trent McDuffie can be a guy that steps in and can help alleviate that. But sounds like it's going to be a big weekend for him, heading back to where he grew up and playing a Chargers team, and a lot of family members are going to be there, so he said he'll have some extra energy and spend a lot of time in getting the tickets for the family members. So we'll see, and emphasis on that whole thing, talking about the tackling and things like that. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We continue rolling more zone next.
Patrick Mahomes press conference brought to you by Xfinity Sports Zone. Xfinity Sports Zone, the ultimate sports hub experience, only from Xfinity. By Premier Volvo Cars of Overland Park, the only Volvo dealership in Kansas City, where luxury and safety meet. Premier Volvo Cars of Overland Park at 78th and Metcalf, or PremierVolvoCarsOverlandPark.com. And by Westlake Ace Hardware. Visit your local Westlake Ace Hardware today, online at westlakehardware.com. Westlake Ace Hardware. Small projects, big know-how. Ask away.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Talked a lot of Royals today.
Sorry. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. It is The Zone. Chiefs press conferences in the previous segment. We'll talk with Mick Shaffer, KSHB 41 sports director, in the 1 o'clock hour, hanging out with him. Sad fans with the Jags, shot clock reviews, all of that coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. We talked to start the show, though, and I want to get back into this just a little bit more because the reaction that we've seen on Twitter that's, expected, and even on the text line as well, about the letter that John Sherman wrote to Royals fans and the Kansas City community about the intention that they are going to move downtown, which we knew was going to happen. Like, there have been parts of this along the way since they bought the team that this was going to be the destination for the Royals, that they were going to move from Kaufman and they were going to end up downtown. It's just a matter of when and where and what the plan looks like. And we have a little bit of an idea because the public financing is always going to be something that comes up in these discussions. And one of the points that he makes in this is that, the guiding principles says, first, we would not ask Jackson County citizens to contribute any more tax dollars than you already do today, which essentially would be extending the 3/8 cent tax from the 2006 renovations that were passed. So if that just continues, then the extra burden that would be there wouldn't be anything added. But it's also the baseball ballpark district that's going to be a big part of it. We talked in the first hour and just hearing the different reactions of parking and getting in and out of downtown, leaving the K. I get it. The nostalgia about being out at Kauffman Stadium, there's a draw to that. When they put in the seats at Kauffman, when they renovated and put in the seats in the outfield, there was a reaction of, you're going to ruin the ambiance. You're going to ruin the view of Kauffman Stadium. Putting in those seats, you're going to take away from the fountains. It's not going to be as beautiful. We will even lose the being able to compare the distance with home runs, how far the ball lands up on the hill. Now we don't have that. When we've had years of doing that, now we don't have that anymore. And it's just so easy in and out of Kauffman Stadium. Like, all of those things I totally understand, but it's also progressing in Major League Baseball and keeping up with the Joneses. The current, we had a text earlier that said, hey, public financing for the billionaires for a new stadium, how much are the current paying for their stadium? How much are they asking? Well, they're not having anything from the city that's going to help with the financing. They're paying for it all on their own, which is awesome, which is great. But it's a different level. If the Chiefs were 118, or the Royals, I should say, if the Royals were $118 million away from being the leaders in building a stadium and amenities and having those things for their organization, then there shouldn't be a dime from the public for the Royals and the billionaires. But they're not $118 million away. That's the great thing about what the Current have done, is that what they are doing in building the first women's-only facility and stadium is awesome. They are on the cutting edge. $118 million doesn't even get the cut, let alone being on the cutting edge. You're starting a conversation at $118 million is just to even get in the door. All right, now you're going to add another 900, another 100 after that. Like, you got tons and tons of money that goes into baseball and the stadiums and just other professional sports. So it's apples and oranges from that that view. And this text says, should we pay to build Ford a new assembly plant? No, but it's also a revenue that's generated downtown with having a professional team that's down there, as opposed to just simply having something here, which is great, because it does produce jobs, but does it then create revenue when they go to work? Does it create revenue when they're in and around the assembly plant? It does out at games. It doesn't for the Royals because there's nothing that has ever been developed around it. Well, that's going to be taken care of with the district because there's going to be development around that. Whether it's downtown Kansas City, if it's close to it. Look, the plan has to be right. The financing plan has to be right. And what, to me, will be a non-starter for me. I want them to move downtown. I want downtown baseball. I wanted it back in 2006. I'm actually glad that it didn't get passed in 2006 because what the Guardians are going through now is the Guardians are trying to build their baseball district entertainment complex around what used to be known as Jacobs Field because that didn't go into the original planning. The Braves put in their baseball district called, quote, the Battery. The Rangers, Texas Live, went in as they were building Globe Life Park. That was already part of the planning. That was already part of the building. And so if the Royals had moved downtown in 2006, then being able to add this would be more difficult than this is going to be how you plan it from the beginning. And the finances of baseball, it is different than what it's been in trying to find added revenue. Look, we had, text line that says, build a winner on the field, and then we can help pay for a baseball stadium. Those aren't necessarily, mutually exclusive deals. Because the Royals' payroll this year was just under $95 million. In 2015, it was $112. In 2017, it was $143, hitting the high water mark. They improved their payroll by $30 million after winning the World Series. So why did they lower in payroll? Well, you had pandemic. The TV revenue is not to the level of revenue sharing, but what the Royals have in their local TV deal. Not to the level of what you see with the Dodgers and the Mets and the Yankees and these other teams. But let's take the Braves and the Rangers, for example. The Braves, when they built Truist Park and, quote, the Battery. In 2019, the Braves' payroll was $119 million. This last year was $178. Next year, it's already $192. They brought in last year $42 million in revenue from the entertainment district. That's not shared revenue. The Braves don't give a dime of that to the rest of Major League Baseball. Not a dime. It's why the Guardians are doing what they're doing. It's why the Rangers did what they're doing. It's having a state-of-the-art facility, which is great, but it's also how do you go and pay for some of the free agents? The Braves this season, one of the big stories about the Braves this season, all the money they gave to their younger players. Austin Riley, 10 years, $212 million. Matt Olson, 8 years, $168. Strider, 6 for $75. Michael Harris, 8 for $72. You think there's just randomness that they're going to spend all this money now moving forward as opposed to, previous years? They're bringing in $40, $50 million added revenue per year based on the baseball district alone. Then you start winning. Now the gates and the ticket sales and concessions go up as well. The Texas Rangers, in 2019, they had 2 players on their roster that were making more than $10 million per year. Next year, they have 5, including Corey Seager that's going to make $35.5. Marcus Simeon's making $26. Perez is making $20. Gray, $15. Odorizzi's making $12.5. The Royals have Salvi. And remember when the 4 years, $82 million contract for Salvi was like, do they give him that much money? That's a lot of money. Yeah, it is a lot of money for the Royals. So if you want to attract a free agent, if you want to keep a star, it sucks that Hosmer and Lorenzo Cain and those guys left. But if John Sherman and the Royals organization are going to compete, there has to be added streams of revenue. And building stuff around Kauffman Stadium is not going to get it done. So having a district in which they are able to bring in money from that, the non-starter, though, to me, a big part of this to me is going to be a trust, maybe a pledge from John Sherman, the owners, and J.J. Piccolo, that if the city does this and helps them out to get this done, that there will be an intention of the revenue brought in from the baseball district, whatever that might be, that goes to payroll. Because if I'm talking about a correlation between the Braves and building the Battery and the Rangers and building Texas Live and their payrolls going up, then that damn sure better happen with the Royals. Because You can't talk about competing in today's baseball, which is one of the things that John Sherman talked about, being able to compete in today's baseball. Well, that's part of it. I agree. Competing in today's baseball is different than just, well, how much you get from gates and how much you get from tickets and concessions. Well, when other teams are bringing in $40, $50, $60 million per year based on a district and real estate around their facility, it's a different ballpark. No pun intended. It's a different game. One doesn't necessarily have to go to the other. But if you want to attract a free agent, you might want to do it with a stadium that doesn't have leaky toilets at times. You might want to do it with a stadium that also has things to do around that, and you might want to be able to afford it. That's a big part of it too. Public transit, all of that stuff is going to go into this. We'll see what the plan is. I wanted to move downtown. It is not a no matter what, you just simply do it. But there's a pro tax for being a pro city. People can talk about the financing and whether it's good for the community and all of that stuff. I've seen those studies. I understand it. I get it. But it's also understanding, do you want to be a pro city or not? Because some cities have said, we're fighting this. We're fighting the man. We're not going to do it. And they lost the team. I want to be a pro city because other cities will gladly take the Royals or the Chiefs or Sporting or the Current if it's something to where this city wants to fight back. And I don't think that's the case. I don't think the city's going to fight back or the residents are going to fight back. I don't think that's the case. I think progress is happening. We see the World Cup. We see the airport. We see all these different things. Downtown, same thing. You can bring in more of a destination if you've got a downtown ballpark, even people that might be visiting Kansas City. Let's get a game in as well there at whatever the new stadium is going to be. 913-912-4810. 913-912-4810 is the text line. We'll get to some more of the text coming in with this on the other side of the break. Mick Shaffer, 1 o'clock. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
So what we had planned for this segment, we got into Jack Bleep of what we were going to do here.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I will get more into this with Mick Shaffer just a little bit more. Also get his thoughts on some NFL stuff and KU and Duke from last night. A lot of stuff to get into. Mick Shaffer joins us. And sad fans, Beards, sad fans, Reddit, Jags. We'll find out. I don't know. What does a Jags sad fans from Reddit sound like? Very curious. I have an idea of like Raiders and what those would sound like, but Jags, I'm not sure. We will find out about that. And
they've been good in the past.
Have they?
Yes.
Good. Well, they've been good in the past. Were they good today?
They're pretty good.
Okay. That stamp of approval from Beards, pretty good. That old confidence of listen in, it's pretty good. It's a slogan for the Zone.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
So sweaty, mom's spaghetti or whatever the line is.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. You know, it's a Wednesday where Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes are talking. They're getting ready for the Chargers. The Chiefs can, if they win on Sunday, essentially wrap up the division for the 7th straight year. KU beats Duke last night. Grady Dick presents himself to everybody.
Presents himself. Reveals himself. Oh, wait, that doesn't sound good.
Grady Dick busts out for everybody to see.
Shoots all over the place.
Right. All over the court. And then
Why didn't he play more in the second half?
And then John Sherman's like, "Oh yeah,
I got this.
Yeah, let me upstage you.
I got this 4-page long tweet I'm going to send out. Yeah. TLDR, John. Oh wait.
Yeah, we're moving. How about that? We're moving.
Not sure when or where, but it's on paper now.
We have a rough vicinity of where we're moving to, and an idea of what it will look like, or at least the message will be. Yeah. We don't know when. And not exactly where we're going to go or how much it's going to cost.
And I've said this since I took over 3 years ago. Yeah. It's now in writing.
Exactly, yeah. There have been, we started the show, there have been little morsels. We've talked about it as it's gone along, that they are going to move downtown. And then, they had, was it like a statement or something that's like, we're talking with the Chiefs and sort of exploring different, options. This is the first one in a letter put out there. This is what we're going to do. Yeah. Because it's what's needed to continue running an organization in Kansas City. And I've said it from the beginning that this ownership group does not buy the Royals if they didn't already have the plan to move downtown.
They've been working so fast. We ran the graphic last night of all the changes since he took over in 2019. And I think this all would have happened quicker had COVID not happened. Mm-hmm. I mean, that kind of slowed them for a year, but in 2021, they promote J.J. Piccolo. Almost a year to the day later, they fire Dayton Moore. The next month, they trade out Mike Matheny for Matt Quatrero, and now they're on the move. I mean, he's made no bones about it. And I looked, and best I could tell from the guys who played on the roster in 2019 to the current 40-man roster, there's only 8 guys left.
Really?
And 2.5 years later or whatever.
I look at it and, I understand the drawback. I understand that there are cons. It's not going to be across the board 100-0. This is amazing and it's awesome. This is euphoria. Yeah, there are going to be some cons. And I get the trepidation of the unknown. I know when I'm going to the Royals game, I can leave at this time. I can get there. If I'm running a little behind, I know I can take this road or this exit and get there. I know where I sit. I know exactly how to go in, where to leave, the sight lines, where we may go for food, all of that stuff. I know it. I'm familiar with it because I've been out there. Well, I don't know about downtown. Like, how am I going to get there? Where am I going to go? Where am I going to park? Is there going to be tailgating? How much is it going to be? Is it going to be expensive? I don't know what ticket is like. What if I'm running late? Where am I going to be able to park? I don't know about... there is a concern with anything that's changed, so I understand that. And I understand the issue of people saying that they don't want to finance it publicly, of a public-private partnership. I get it. I have my thoughts that are probably well known on that by now. And, just simply leaving the K and the nostalgia of that. Mm-hmm. All of those I understand. But it is time to progress to the next stage of what baseball can be in Kansas City. And again, the finances are changing, and you either get on the train or you watch it leave. Mm-hmm. And the finance changed in mid-90s after the strike, and when the CBA and everything, and we saw the Royals go from having a higher payroll than the Yankees to then what the payroll was. Like, we had another texter that said Mr. K would go out and sign Max Scherzer and DeGrom and Corey Seager and then ask for a new stadium. No, he wouldn't. He would not be able to go out and do that. Cohen took over the Mets, and yes, they increased their payroll by $70 million when he got there. But the Mets' revenue and TV deals and ticket prices and what they're bringing in versus the Royals is a little different. It's a different game.
It's not the NFL, right?
Ewing Kauffman would not have just gone out this year and said, "Oh, we're going to ask to move downtown. Let's go pay Max Scherzer $300 million."
It's not the NFL where there's a salary cap and all the teams out there. It's everything they can do to not go over it. It's whatever is it, $220 million, whatever it is,
whatever the luxury
something
tax.
like that.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry for
the NFL. NFL's like 208, 209 this year.
Right, and all the NFL teams would pay $100 million more than that if they could.
Yeah,
but they can't. It matters how much money you make, and the Royals need to make money. And 81 dates downtown, it makes sense. I couldn't find it yesterday, and I was surprised on my multiple Google searches. That's my research I did.
At least 2.
How many? And you're the type of nerd and smart guy that would have found this out already, so maybe you did. What percentage of the 30 MLB ballparks are downtown? I can't find it. I don't know.
I actually don't know that either.
And it depends on your definition of downtown. Like Wrigley isn't downtown, but it's
a downtown
in a densely populated area, right? What do you call that? The Bronx isn't downtown New York, densely populated area. And so I would guess from the ballparks I've been to, it's got to be over half, at least 15 to 20 ballparks that are downtown. And there's a reason for that.
Yeah. But also every single stadium that's being built now is being built with an entertainment district. The Bills are doing it. The Chiefs want to do it as well, even in the NFL. The Braves did it. The Rangers did it. The Guardians already have a downtown ballpark. They have announced plans that they are going to then build an entertainment district around Jacobs Field or whatever it is now, Progressive. Around Progressive, because they already moved downtown, and that was my point of like, I wanted them to move downtown in 2006. It's much more expensive to build it now, but in 2006, you didn't know that this was going to be the future of sports, that the organizations were going to start investing in real estate and making revenue that way to then put into the team. Didn't know that. Well, we do now. So it gives you a blank slate. It gives you an opportunity to say, we're going to go here because we can maximize space. We can maximize what we want to do at this. We can include more, some parking as well, along with like the Braves did a deal with Omni. Like if you look at Truist Park, one of the buildings that overlooks the stadium and the field is the Omni Hotel, which is 50-50 split with the Braves. So you go there and you go, boy, we can see the game right outside our window. Yeah, and the Braves are getting that money while you're doing that. So they don't mind you having a room that can overlook the stadium because you're giving them money by staying there. And so, I talked about the payroll for the Braves. In 2019, it was $119 million was their payroll. Next year, they already have $192 million in their payroll set up. Now, you can say, well, yeah, they won the World Series, and that's what happens. Okay. The Royals won the World Series in 2015, and 2 years later, they had $30 million more in payroll. The Braves won the World Series, and the next year, they increased it by over 40, and they're adding another 25 to that already next year without their full 26-man roster signed. So it's not just they won the World Series, and this is the World Series bump you get with payroll. They brought in $42 million last year from, quote, the Battery, which is the Braves ballpark district, the Battery. I couldn't find anything on the Rangers and, quote, Texas Live that was built with Globe Park or Globe Life. I couldn't find anything on that. I'm assuming that wasn't zero. I'm assuming they made some money on that. But the Braves released publicly, some of the ownership group or whatever it might be that released publicly all of that stuff. Cardinals downtown. We had a text earlier that said, took my kid to Atlanta for a Braves game, and that entertainment district was awesome. We had a blast around there at the game. It wasn't just, my son had so much fun at the game, we went to the Little K.
I can't tell you how many times I've gone to games and concerts at Sprint Center / T-Mobile Center and stayed outside, watched it from McFadden's, right? While my wife's inside at the concert.
Good point.
I'm watching games, right? NCAA tournament games while I'm waiting on the game that's going to play there. The first two games I'm outside watching at one of the bars and restaurants. I think it only makes sense. I think there's a reason for it. And I don't see, I mean, the only drawback I see, there's two, nostalgia and tailgating. Right, and I get it. You know, there's a lot of history there with the K, but you know what? They tore down Yankee Stadium. That had a lot more history than the K.
That was the house that Ruth built.
Yeah, that had 4 World Series there and some other great moments, and I get it. I get it.
Ruth built that,
but I think you could with his hands.
It was all by himself. The guy's gonna get some help. Nah, you got it. You're good.
Built it while he was playing with the Red Sox, actually beforehand.
You're the great Bambino. Okay, you're the Colossus of clout. You can do this. Okay.
But then the other is tailgating, and you know what? They could probably figure out a way around that. I doubt every parking spot around a new downtown ballpark is going to be inside some giant concrete jungle of a parking garage.
That's right. One of the points that they bring up here says work closely with local transportation leaders to ensure public transportation options accommodate a new ballpark district. Yeah, that has to be a big part of this. And how far is the reach in public transportation? A trolley, streetcar from different areas in the city that you could get to a point downtown, or a park and ride further away that it's an easier access to the highway, something like that. You know, I think that has to be a big part of it. It does, because, you know, I don't subscribe to the 40,000 people there at Kauffman Stadium. You mean during the World Series games? 40,000 people? Because there ain't 40,000 people. And also, how many millions and millions of people go downtown every day, every morning, around the same time? Millions and millions. Different areas of downtown, but you're also talking about going to one congested place, densely populated place, with more people than what would be a Royals game. And not everybody going to the Royals game would be driving in that day. They might have already been there from the business.
Yeah, you're going to catch a lot of patrons who are there for work and who might stumble upon tickets or just say, you know what, it's a Tuesday night. I'm going to work an extra hour, then grab a beer, walk over to the game.
Yep.
And so I see a bump in attendance for stuff like that almost immediately.
Text says, F the trolleys. Rickshaws like in San Diego is my vote. I don't know what that is.
A rickshaw?
Yeah.
You watch Seinfeld. Kramer had a rickshaw. Basically, you're a guy pulling right a little wagon, a little cart with 2 wheels on it. Yes. You know what they have? You know what they have in Minnesota? I think I've seen them here. But I've never been on one since. They have those beer trolleys, right? So imagine like a long pub table.
Oh, yeah.
And you have people sitting on stools all along them, and then it's a bike in front that pedals it. And I think I've seen them where like you're drinking and you're actually pedaling as well. You're part. You're the Fred Flintstone. You're part of it, right? And so that was cool. And we went there right after Target Field was built in downtown Minneapolis, and it works. I mean, if you count. Is it U.S. Cellular White Sox?
White Sox, yep.
If you count that as a downtown stadium, which, I mean, South Side, I wouldn't, honestly. Some would, but it's not in a suburb. I think it's in Chicago, proper. The Royals are the only one in the Central without one. A small type market division.
I love a text that came in when you were saying, you were looking for the different numbers of stadiums that were out there. The text says, wow, Mick is asking for numbers now. I know. That's right. Whoa, hey, don't come here and ask for numbers.
Once, okay?
All right? You stay on brand. Well, I give you the numbers and you ignore me.
The highest number it's going to be is 30, okay? I can go about that high.
Yeah.
I can go about that high.
And look, the text, this text just came in, and it echoes a lot, so it's not like, oh, this texter is it, but it says, I'm a sports fan. There's a less than 0% chance I will ever support public money for a downtown stadium. That's fine. I get it. Understandable. But there are plenty of other cities that would. That would do that. And I'm not saying the Royals
City's
are going to
done it a lot of times already with
I'm not saying the Royals,
renovations and,
T-Mobile and, So, I'm not saying that the Royals would leave. I don't think they should even threaten to leave. I don't think that's going to be the case.
It's going to be interesting. What's the split going to be, right? What's the split? And it's how they phrased it. They did say no new taxes for Jackson County. There's already like a 3/8 cent.
I think it's carrying over the 3/8 cent tax. I think that just stays there. And then what should also be part of the plan is if they're building the district, okay, well, how much of those tax dollars from the district or up charges on a hotel room then also go into the part of financing for that go to alleviate the debt, not the city debt, but from the ballpark's side of the debt and the organization side of the debt, and what they're putting in, the owners specifically hundreds of $1 million, what they may borrow, and then what also they're asking from the public to alleviate the public's cost and overhead for that. So I think one thing that gets lost, and I've talked about this a lot, and I'll continue talking about it because I experienced it for 10 years. One thing that gets lost in the pro teams and saying, I'm not going to pay for the financing, I don't want to give billionaires more money. I understand it. Why should billionaires get the public tax dollars? Okay. I've called it the pro tax. I'll continue to do that. I don't think the economic studies that I've read put an emphasis on what it means to have things to do in a town, to attract talent in business, to keep a big company's headquarters there, a Fortune 500 company, to stay in that particular city, because you're not only your base of hiring for all these companies around Kansas City. The base of hiring is not just Kansas City residents. Okay, This is not a village back in the day. Okay, you're hiring from all over the place. People are looking for jobs. They're graduating. They're looking for
create
jobs.
A couple thousand jobs.
Yeah, and so not even that, but you go work at Cerner. So somebody from let's say Denver goes and works at Cerner, and gets a job Cerner at Iowa City. Well, I'm not an Iowa Hawkeye fan. I went to Colorado. UC, they're in the Pac-12. It's Big Ten. I'm not a really fan of that, but what am I going to do here? Get a job at Cerner in Kansas City? Well, I'm a Bronco fan. I get to see the Broncos every year. I can go watch baseball games. Maybe the Rockies will be in town. There's other things to do, sporting, current. There are things to do around town that I might be more willing to stay and work and advance my career and have a family here, investing in the city. And now what if I go off on my own and now I've got a big business and I'm developing that? Well, I'm living here now, so I'm going to stay here. Whereas for 10 years, I watched the city and lived there that avoided progress, fought progress. They were John Dutton of the, I am the opposite of progress. I am the wall that it meets and I'm not breaking. Okay, that's what they were. And they watched things go elsewhere. And they've watched multiple companies that were based there find other cities to go to because they couldn't keep it. Papa John's left Louisville.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
And it's not just because John Schnatter is a racist. They left Louisville because they couldn't keep people there. Because if you go there and you're not a fan of the university, what are you doing? What are you doing? Going to a concert once every few months if it's the band that you like? I don't know how much that's included in the economic studies of what it does for a city in publicly financing a stadium for teams.
Yeah.
Of just having that people would say, that's a cool city, man. I'd love to live there. Patrick Mahomes does that for Kansas City. The Chiefs are doing that for Kansas City.
He does. And look, these millionaires and billionaires are going to get richer over this whole deal. But when they do, they spend money and jobs are created, and this is going to create a lot of jobs, not only within the stadium but outside the stadium. Construction work as well, because this thing going up in a few weeks, man.
Absolutely.
This is for years. This is going to create a lot of jobs, construction work as well. And if you're fighting that in the whole baseball system, there's a lot more fights to have, because that's how it works everywhere. That's how progress works, not just inside of professional sports, but with Cerner, with every other field you can think of.
And look, I had plenty of plans to talk about Dick rising to the occasion.
Oh, come on.
Last night.
Grady Dick.
As a texter said,
we have a hard and fast rule in the KSHB 41 Sports Department, initiated by me, that, okay, there's no second reference. We just say their last name. Usually, for even Patrick Mahomes, the first time we say his name in the highlights, we say Patrick Mahomes. Then you say Mahomes after that.
Yeah.
Patty Two Sticks, PM Don, whatever you're going to call him. Okay,
QB1, whatever.
Right.
PM,
Whatever
whatever
you want to say after that.
Whatever you're going.
There's a hard and fast rule. We're at regular reference, Grady Dick every time. Grady Dick, you say his full name.
See, you don't have to be a Grady Dick about it to your organization. I mean, you can have a little bit of leeway, okay?
I was going to say, in a couple of years, the whole sophomoric, all the sophomoric jokes might wear off, but in a couple of years, he's going to be in the NBA.
It's not wearing off anytime soon. I'm just waiting for Brian Haney.
That poor guy.
They want the dick, they get the dick. Rock, chalk it up. Grady for 3. Where's our next?
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts.
Are we doing tickets for less here, Beards? Is this a tickets for less thing right now? Is it right now? Currently, right. My mic is on. I don't believe you. Mick and I are going to continue having our conversation about what we saw last night. We're going to have the conversation about KU off the air that we were going to have on the air. Let's just do that. Or we can also tell you about, getting tickets to maybe, I don't know, a KU game, Mizzou's winning, K-State, they play Thursday, maybe something.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
I am incapable of not being annoying. I've tried it.
That's true.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Mick Shaffer.
Hey.
Beards. Hey there. Hey, guy.
Are we doing a shot clock review today?
You know, we're not. We're not, because we're going to do some sad fans. So we're sad fanning it up today here in just a little bit after I remind you about the 24th annual Sports Radio 810 food drive that's going on. And all of the Kansas City area Aldi locations is where you can go and drop off the non-perishable items. And you stop in there, you get your groceries, get a few more, drop it off in the 810 bin on your way out. And 810WHB.com/food drive is where you can go make a monetary donation if you can't get to Aldi, or maybe you want to do both. Maybe you want to give a non-perishable item and then also give a monetary donation as well. That if you donate $20 at 810WHB.com, you're automatically entered in to win the Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid autographed picture. Every $20 you give gets a free entry in, free with a $20 donation. It's free. You know, hey, you know what? These 4 tires cost $73,000, but we're going to throw in the car for free. The rest of the car we're going to throw in for free. So that's a great deal on the engine and everything. You're getting that for free. All you got to do is pay $73,000 for these 4 tires. But every $20 that you donate, you get an entry in to win the picture and the silent auction that's going on right now. There are a lot of really awesome items that are not going for nearly enough money right now. So maybe go and check that out. And I apologize if somebody's there, you know, squatting and like, damn you, Anderson, shut up. Don't let people bid. No, we want as much money as possible because all of the donations and the proceeds go directly to those in need through the Bishop Sullivan Center and Mission Southside. So 810WHB.com/food drive is where you can go. Good thing is the text line has been totally mature about KU's stud player last night, Jalen Wilson. Totally mature about that.
It's good. And because, there's nobody egging him on.
No. We've simply just talked about his game and how good he is. He was really good last night.
He should have played one in the second half. He's had 3 fouls get him out there.
Yeah. They should fire that coach. You know what? I give it one more game and then he's done.
Bring in Jeff Saturday.
I think one more and you got to move on from him after one more game.
Bill was in Indianapolis. I didn't know how that worked. But I guess he traveled with the team. He's just not there on the bench.
And like a Secret Service, in his ear, like.
I don't know if he's back at the hotel for all of the game, or if he gets to be in the. Probably doesn't get to be in the locker room. I'm guessing.
Can he buy a ticket? Can he be there? Like, you just buy a ticket. You can be spending all you want. Just purchase a ticket.
Like Bobby Valentine. He's got the mustache on.
That's right. What if he sat at the end of the bench with the Bobby Valentine, mustache?
That'd be great.
Whatever the name of that mask or makeup is.
If it's the Pac-12 network, they wouldn't find him. They wouldn't.
Nobody would find him. Yeah.
Did you see that with Jerome Tang on Friday when this past Friday, right? When K-State played Cal, they not only put Jerome, not the wrong guy. I think it's like a not even an assistant. Just I can't remember. K-State fans will text in. I don't know who it was. As Jerome Tang, they also on the lower third graphic said Jerome Yang. So there are Twitter accounts out there of Jerome Yang with the wrong guy's face. And they did it like throughout the night. I don't know if they ever corrected it. The parts of the game I was watching, they never did. I didn't finish the game, but it was embarrassing. So yeah, Pac-12. I don't know.
Enjoyed when every once in a while in a Big 12 game, they would show the sideline of Charlie Strong in a Texas game, and it would be the strength and conditioning coach. That is not Charlie Strong.
Well done.
It's like, Charlie Strong, like, there's got to be a producer going, not him. He's not him. Not him. Cut. Take camera 5. Take camera 5. Anything but this.
You really don't need it. If you know football, you don't really even need to know what the coach looks like. You can tell a head coach kind of where he's walking on the sideline.
Yeah.
He's ahead of everybody. He's the closest to the sideline, and he's usually wearing maybe a different outfit to stand out to say, hey, look, I'm the head coach.
And if you're not Brady Hoke, then you're wearing a headset so you can actually communicate with people and not just going, what are we doing? What are we doing? Okay, cool. Yeah, you got it. You guys got it. No, it's cool. I'm going to eat a hot dog. All right, let's hear from the Jags from the weekend.
Oh, I love this.
It is time for Sad Fans.
Are there Jag fans?
I guess.
There are.
We'll find out. Beards, go right ahead.
And now, a list of things that Jacksonville Jaguars fans said on Reddit. If we punt, I'm hunting Kirk down. Imagine how good we'd be if our receivers didn't drop passes at an abnormal rate. Millions of dollars and you can't catch a ball? I want to cry after that waste of a drive. Well, looks like our defense is unprepared. I hate Patrick Mahomes. It has nothing to do with this game. I hate the way he runs and the way his helmet fits on his weird-ass head. Might as well install a slide and a swing set in the backfield because Mahomes says all day. Why is Romo whispering like he's on a nature show? Trey Herndon is a waste of oxygen on the field. Oh, I would kill for Sauce Gardner. Kelsey is so damn good. Is he hard to see on the field? Do people not know their assignments? The Jags should try covering the receivers. That might help. We are going to get shown how not close to prominence we are today. Buckle up. Those first 3 weeks when the defense fooled everyone into thinking they were good sure were fun, huh? First touchdown of his career, bunny hops on one leg into the end zone. No, that's not going to be on replay on ESPN all week, LOL. Right? Ugh, I need a damn cigarette. Some of y'all need Jesus. Nobody panic! The Chiefs are extremely good at football. I think the general conclusion I am getting here is the Chiefs are extremely good at football. Oh, we are maybe we shouldn't have punted twice in KC territory. Well, this was 30 minutes I won't get back. Crying emoji. I'm jealous of y'all who are saying this is painful to watch because you can still feel. This team has made me dead inside since 2018. Maybe our defensive game plan is to let them drop wide open passes. Our kicker is, poopy. Trevor's long flowing locks in the air when he runs is beautiful. That guy who said we have the best O-line can go himself. Reminder, we're $12 million over the cap, and this is the squad that we produced. If we can get the Chiefs to average less than like 15 yards per play, that'd be dope. Embarrassment. Forfeiting would have been more respectable. Wouldn't be a Jags game without the opposing team's players breaking bad streaks. Woo! Let's keep playing zone! Defense on meth. Finally got the game on TV in my area. And sadness. Positive play for the Jags? In come the Zebras. Comment. Why did we punt? Reply. Because we were on our 30. It's not Madden, bruh. See a few trolls here trying to make us feel bad. Joke's on them. We always feel bad. Jags. Breathe. Refs. Personal foul. Crimes against humanity. I think I could complete passes behind this pass rush. Why won't Khan pay the refs like everybody else? It looked too close to reverse, but maybe the refs will the Chiefs for once just to make things interesting. Tony Romo is in physical pain having to speak positively about the Jags. And now, the runner-up. Reporting in, barbecue good, football not so much. Go Jags. And now, the winner of things that Jacksonville Jaguars fans said on Reddit. Can we hire Urban back to come kick Patterson?
That's pretty good. Oh, man. That was pretty good.
Sure it wasn't a Chiefs fan that made that offensive line comment?
Might have been. Sure it wasn't a Chiefs fan saying that, oh, hey, positive play. Here come the officials.
Yeah. All fans are the same.
I know. Yes. Oh, the broadcasters. I mean, how much love are they going to give to insert team here that's playing my team? It's ridiculous. I did like the, I'm jealous that you can still feel.
This team's made me dead inside.
Jealous you can still feel. By the way, did you see the weather in Buffalo this weekend?
No.
Cleveland and Buffalo on Sunday. They are expecting 3 to 6 feet of snow in Buffalo starting Friday.
Let's do it. I love to watch those games from afar.
Of snow
We have a snowflake contest at KSHB 41 for the first inch of snow. Last year didn't happen until January 1st.
Really?
Remember we got that big snowfall on January 1st. I imagine they do contests there for first foot of snow.
First foot of snow, yeah.
In Buffalo.
Yeah, Friday morning. That's apparently, yes.
Hey, we got it August 2nd.
If it hits the Buffalo area, because there's also up to 8 feet of snow in certain areas that it's going to get hit off the lake. But they were saying if Buffalo gets around the 3 to 6 feet, that you're talking about and this makes sense, but just road shut down. The city shut down. No in and out, nobody driving. Good luck getting to the game. Hey, Browns, you get into the game. Do you get there early? Is there a hotel near the stadium? There will be when they build their new stadium and their cool entertainment district around it, because there'll be hotels and things like that, maybe for the team to stay at. I don't know. Never been to Buffalo, but
it's Orchard Park.
That can make it pretty interesting this weekend if the Browns go there and they have a much better running game than said Bills do. If there is you can't pass the ball, and Browns are like, cool, we haven't been doing it all year. So we're totally fine with that. We'll see, but just noticing it.
Can that be a rule, by the way? Can we make it? We can't pass the ball? Nobody can at all? Any games?
So we do, they are allowed to pass. Okay, they are allowed to pass the ball. Okay, but we don't want to.
We don't need to, right? There's not a quota we have to meet? Okay.
Interesting. And the Bills are like, we don't really get anything out of David Montgomery, so we're good with not even running the ball. We're just going to have to pass it. That's why we got Nyheim Hines, so we could pass to more people. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling, wrap up the show. And, boy, we really got to get into that KU Duke conversation.
Let's do it.
It's about damn time that happens. More Zone next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Mick, you're a big Diamondbacks fan. It was the Pirates that they were facing off against last night.
I love D-bags, not D-backs.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I will continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Speaking of D-backs, they have a downtown stadium.
Yeah, a Twitch commenter said 18 of the 30 ballparks are downtown.
And you and I just went down the list, and there's some that are like outskirts. Do you count them downtown or not? We counted 19. So roughly in that ballpark.
Like Wrigley, the Cell, Yankees, Mets, like, their location, are they technically, they are downtown, like all of the
If there's buildings around the ballpark, does it count as downtown?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, compared to Kauffman, yes, it does count as downtown. There's at least a town around it, at least something built up and some commercial things to do. So KU wins against Duke last night, 69-64. And I'm really appreciative of Duke being the favorite before the game last night. Because I said on the air, if you want to take the points, that's fine with Kansas, but take the money line, Kansas. They're going to win. They're the more experienced team. Duke is younger. Duke turns the ball over. I thought they would win. I mean, winning by 5, winning by 6, whatever it might have been. I know they won by 5, but if they'd have won by like 6 or 7, I thought they would end up winning by double digits.
It was kind of 3 games. It was like KU dominant for the first 15 minutes, Duke for the next 20, and then KU just
last 5.
Yeah, last 5.
They go on that 15-5 run to end up winning the game, and 7 straight by Grady Dick. The 3 he knocks down when they were trailing by 1, that was a huge shot. The dunk. The layup that he finishes that looked like he jumped from like a foot and a half inside the free throw line and had to sort of wait there and then lay it up.
So long,
dude. It is. I mean, seriously, his ability to finish is really good. And I thought he was just a shooter. Like when you talk about him, it's like the guy can shoot, right? He's going to put up points and shoot. No, the 3 different ones that I can remember: the up and under, in the first half. And then, the
on
dunk.
the break, seeking out the contact.
That's
on
right.
Mark Mitchell.
That's right.
Finishing.
That's another one there. And then at the end, when it was the floating, sort of having to hang there to get closer to the rim, little backhanded layup that he had, along with knocking down some shots and just being pure. Like he
wasn't the number 1 kid in the class, but he was named the National Gatorade Player of the Year. When he was, I'm like, really?
Dude,
and now I'm like, okay, that's warranted. I think he's the best one and done the KU's ever had. He's going to be a one and done. Ever had.
The best?
So he will.
Yeah, name one better.
Embiid?
He was hurt half his.
Yeah, name 2.
Now, I'm not saying what's going to be
Not
in
saying
NBA.
career.
Their freshman year at KU.
He's going to be closer to Embiid than Josh Shelby.
I think it's Wiggins in the conversation, and it's Jackson.
Yeah.
And I think Jackson was better than Wiggins his freshman year. KU.
Yeah.
Xavier Henry, whatever.
Embiid until he got hurt was
Macklemore wasn't a one and done. He redshirted and
Yeah.
Like
no, I think
6'8" too. I mean,
it's early, right? It's kind of like the Kadarius Toney.
It's
like,
3 games, but
it's early. Precincts are not really reporting yet.
I
It's
thought
early.
we'd be seeing kind of a Christian Brown. He is light years ahead of Christian Brown.
At this point in their
Yes.
career, 100%. Absolutely. That is right. Light years of
He looks as good
freshman
as, or maybe better than Christian Brown last year.
Dude, he looks good.
I think Sells figured out just get these tall, long wings.
Yeah,
and then just fill
and finish
and then we'll fill in the 1 and the 5 if we can.
Just do that. But I don't know what these
and
teams.
by the way, they do have a 1
Yeah.
here. So get in the Pettifers.
I don't know what the teams are going to look like in March. If they match up with Duke in March, I don't know that KU wins. That's why I liked KU last night is this early in the season when you've got
Did you take
bunch
Michigan
of guys.
State too?
No, I wish I would
That was
have.
a great game.
Oh, man, that was a really good game. But you got a bunch of guys that this is the first time of experiencing that step up in competition from who Duke played the first 2 games. Obviously, KU played a couple of rummies the first couple of games. But they have players that have been
Jalen Wilson coming
on
back
the level
game changer,
with
man.
that competition level. So the one thing about last night, like there's a lot of positives there, but Wilson has to be more efficient. He can't be a high volume 25 shots and 24 points. Like They can't do that. He's got to be more efficient with the ball.
My comparison for him is Lamar Odom.
Yeah.
Like a slightly poor man's Lamar Odom, but still that kind of player.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he needs to be hunting shots. I think he can get enough shots in the flow of the game. He was so good a year ago in cleaning things up, attacking the basket. I think that can still be his game, while also knowing that he could be a number one option, just not 25 shots in the game. You know, there were a lot of wasted possessions in that one where Kansas could have controlled it. But I appreciate Duke going up by 6 and DraftKings giving me plus 300 for KU.
And Des Moines Hodge looked good for Missouri.
Cool.